Your attention, please. May we turn your attention to the commissioner's box near the Orioles dugout for tonight's ceremonial first pitch. The man is familiar to all baseball fans. He holds nearly every Baltimore lifetime hitting record and won 16 Gold Glove. Number 5, Brooks Robinson.
Brooksy delivering the ceremonial first pitch to Doug DeCinces, who succeeded him at third base. And yes, he does have a coat with him. The field, gratuitously saying, I think, is playable. It's soggy. Here's the starting lineup for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and it's interesting to note that the leadoff man, Omar Moreno, has run off 18 consecutive stolen bases. We'll see what happens first time he's on. Now the defense for the Baltimore Orioles taking the field. It is a night where you need a hand warmer. You've got to keep moving. You've got to keep wiggling around as John Lowenstein goes into the left field position, and he's going to be working in one of the soggy areas of the outfield, though the turf actually is quite firm. Al Bumbry in center field. Bumbry, one of the real flyers defensively in the game of baseball. Over in right field, he's a horse for this ball club, Big Ken Singleton. Moving to the inner defense for Baltimore, there's Doug DeCinces, who caught the ceremonial first pitch. Been outstanding in his career here. And of course, this man will go down in Baltimore baseball history as one of the greatest ever at shortstop, Mark Belanger. At second base, Earl Weaver, going with the percentages, puts in the left-handed hitting, or the right-handed hitting Billy Smith in place of left-hander Rich Dower. Eddie Murray is over at first base. This is another horse in this ball club. He really is a good one. He plays every day and never is heard from. Behind the plate, Rick Dempsey. You heard in the pregame program, Howard suggests that he may be one of the best catchers in all of baseball. And out on the mound, the young left-hander from New Hampshire, Mike Flanagan, who was 23-9 on the regular season. He won a ball game in the playoff series against the California Angels. He's very steady, and he's become an outstanding pitcher. The umpires for the ball game tonight, Jerry Neudecker out of the American League is back at the plate. Bob Engel of the National League at first. Rutz Getz of the American League at second. Terry Taylor, National League at third. Down the left field line, Jim McKean, American League, and Paul Runge is down the right field line from the National League. The dimensions for this ballpark, it's relatively short down the lines, as you can see, at 309 feet. There is a lot of room out in center at 405, and those are the distances up the alleys. They do play on natural grass here, and they have played some 5 football games already, and they'll have another one scheduled for this coming Sunday. So we'll see what it's like when we come back here. The prognosis for the weather is more bad weather coming in as of Friday. Omar Moreno, the numbers on the year for him in the championship series for the National League title, he was 3 for 12, and he stole 1 base. Out on the mound, the left-hander Mike Flanagan, because of the bad weather last night, he went out and threw easy for 5 minutes when the game was officially called. Jim Palmer out with him, threw for a while himself. So here's the first pitch of the 1979 World Series, and it's fouled away.
Key, I think one of the big thing right now is that you've got to try and, as I said before, neutralize this left-handed power of the Pirates, and it's going to be up to the left-handers, Flanagan, and of course Scott McGregor, to do just that. You got to keep this guy off the base. He's like Bumbry. He'll make things happen.
The pitch bounces outside, and it'll go back into the bag or be, nope, they keep it in play. Rick Dempsey, back of the plate, will be tested, I am sure, early by Moreno, because they want to know how they can handle it. Dempsey, on the other hand, says Chuck Tanner's baseball teams in his career have only stolen 1 base off of him. And Flanagan comes high and tight to Moreno, and the count goes now to 2-1.
You can keep the ball in on Moreno. You keep it in with hard stuff, and he likes the ball out over the plate. He likes to spray the ball around if he possibly can. The defense for Baltimore, you see Bumbry a little bit in left center field.
It is now 3-1.
And Flanagan trying to keep that ball in on him. He doesn't like to get that ball out to where he can get the big head of the bat on it. He's got excellent speed, and you don't play him too deep. He doesn't have a lot of power. On the year, well, he hit 8 home runs.
DeCinces on the edge of the grass at third, 3-1 pitch. It's beat on the ground to the right side for Billy Smith, the second baseman. There's your first out. But you can see how quick that Marino gets down that line.
He made it close.
Yep.
But the key task to keep him off the bases, and Flanagan was equal to it.
Tim Foley, Chuck Tanner says, is the man that brought it all together for his ball club. He was the last piece in the puzzle for them. Four for 12 against Cincinnati in the National League Championship Series, and Flanagan comes inside for ball one.
You see Frank Robinson may be the most active of all big league coaches, positioning his outfielders. Weaver turned the outfield over to him.
Flanagan hits the corner to make it 1-1.
Last year, and Jim Palmer was very forthright about it, the Baltimore outfielders were a sorry lot defensively.
Pull the string on the change, and he gets him out in front. He fouls it away to make it 1-2. And the change is a pitch that Mike Flanagan picked up from Scott McGregor in the middle of the season, and it's made a tremendous difference in the way he's been working on the mound. That ball is popped up out into left field, drifting toward Lowenstein. John makes the catch, still 2 out.
Fastball's being clocked on the first 2 batters, Don, at 91 and 92 miles per hour.
He's sneaky fast. He's got a good fastball, and he keeps it away from the right-hand hitters and into the left-handers. It will tail and sink for him. He keeps a hard slider curveball in on him to keep him off balance, and then he's come up with that good change, which makes it a little more
That's what made
faster.
him.
That's
Winning
right.
19 a year ago, 23 this year. He studied Scott McGregor, who is known for his pitching guile and who has the great changeup. And very quickly, Flanagan duplicated McGregor.
Let's see what he can do with Dave Parker. Parker hits a bullet down the right field side. It's going to the corner for a base hit, and the big guy pumping for second, stumbling as he goes around first base. But he's all right. He reaches back and grabs the back of his right leg.
Right there, the first test, gentlemen, for Mike Flanagan against the Bucks' left-hand power. Much has been made of left-handers stopping as you look at it in replay. The Bucks' left-hand power. Well, on the season, Dave Parker, for instance, who can hit anybody, hit 13 home runs against southpaws and 12 against right-handers. Stargell, when he's hitting, can hit anybody.
Yeah, that's exactly the truth, Howard. And of course, the big thing right now, Tony Barteron's going to go out. I don't know whether it was Parker might have pulled a hamstring or something as he went around that bag at first. You pointed it out, Keith, that he did stumble going around the bag. He tried to get the fastball in on him, and I believe Parker just looking fastball all the way. If you're a hitter, you'll go up there at times and watch the way that pitcher will try and work right off the bat to your opposing hitters, or actually your own teammates. And of course, these guys aren't dumb. They know their own strengths, and they own their own weaknesses. And of course, when you know that you're scouted as much as these two clubs have been scouted, you got to figure that somewhere along the line they are going to try and hit a point of weakness.
Bill Robinson is at the plate, 262 hitter, 0 for 3 in the playoff series. And Flanagan's fastball comes in for strike 1. Flanagan, during the last season and a half, has improved his move on the mound. He has become very proficient at holding base runners. He picked off 8 this past season. That's fouled away. He's in front 2 as he pulled the string. He has developed confidence in that change, and he throws it a lot.
That's really made him a good pitcher. You know, since June 8th of this year, Flanagan finished the season 17 wins and 5 losses. And boy, if you're going to finish strong, that's the way to finish it.
Well, that's the key point. That's when he started using that changeup, developing confidence in it, because he said he had been throwing the fastball and the curve exclusively in the early going, and he hadn't been winning the way his talent would have dictated.
With 2 out, and Parker at second base. Swing, foul tip, he stays alive on a 1-2 count. The coaches, Joe Laudette at third, Al Monchak at first. The outfield is straight away and well back. There is no wind, thank goodness. It would really be rough if the wind was blowing. Struck him out. So the top half of the first inning is over. Pittsburgh leaves Dave Parker standing at second base And Flanagan strikes out Robinson. So after 1/2 inning of play, Pittsburgh nothing, Baltimore coming to bat. Game 1, 1979 World Series. The batting order for the Baltimore Orioles: Bumbry, Belanger, Singleton, Murray, Lowenstein, DeCinces, Smith, Dempsey, Flanagan, Smith, and Lowenstein representing percentage baseball to get the left-handers in the lineup against the right-handed pitcher. The defense for Pittsburgh: Robinson, Moreno, Parker in the outfield, Madlock, Foley, Garner, Stargell on the inside, Nicosia back at the plate. Bruce Kison is on the mound. And the most impressive thing to me in Bruce Kison's professional baseball record with the Pittsburgh Pirates, in his career, he's 27-7 in the months of September and October.
It's astonishing, isn't it? You talked to him about it. He said, I don't know why, but somehow my stuff seems to work better in the cold weather. I'm not arguing with it anymore and just accepting it.
He's going to find out tonight because it is chilly here. I think one of the big keys to watch tonight is how many times that a pitcher will be allowed to go up. It's very cold, and a lot of times the umpire will allow them to just go up and blow on their hand a little bit.
They have given him permission to do that tonight.
And I would have to think that it's proper because it is chilly. What'd you say it was? 41 degrees, and it is going down rapidly.
That was an hour ago. I suspect it's cooler than that now. So here's Bumbry. Al at 285, 4 for 16 against the Angels. He strokes it to left field. It's going to drop for a base hit. And it drops and rolls rather well. So the outfield turf is firm.
Well, there's the same kind of guy. They come out of the same chapter, Moreno and Bumbry, and you got to try and keep both of those guys off the bases. Moreno was 77 stolen bases on the year, but Al Bumbry had 37 of his own.
Weaver, as you look at this hit again, Bumbry going right with the pitch, dropping it into short left center field for the single. Weaver likes to run Bumbry immediately when Belanger bats second because Mark is a good hit-and-run man despite the hapless batting average, and he makes decent contact.
He'll get into a point where he'll move him, as you say, hard on the hit-and-run, or sometimes even in the first inning, or whenever Bumbry's on and Belanger comes up, they go to the sacrifice.
Kison's first pitch is low for ball 1.
And of course, Weaver is a good manager in this point. You see Belanger checking with Cal Ripken, his third base coach. When Weaver gets ahead on the count, all of a sudden that's when he will start to make things happen. And now this is what the pitchers are going to have to watch out for tonight. It is still wet over by their dugout. The infield has been covered as you look at Earl Weaver. But they pick up that mud in their spikes walking back and forth to the mound, and they got to make sure that they are clean before every pitch.
Bumbry coming off first. And the pitch is high and tight to Belanger, who has a sore lower left leg. In September, he had a foul ball which broke a blood vessel. Before the championship series, they lanced the leg, drained it. During the playoffs, he wore that shin guard, and he is still wearing it. But what a magician he is out there defensively. My goodness. Kison misses just inside. And the count now, 3 balls and no strikes. And let's see what Earl Weaver decides to do.
Funny thing about Kison, he's gone through a spell of first inning troubles as you look at Chuck Tanner. Shortly after the All-Star break, that began. In his last 13 starts, he's allowed 17 runs in the first inning.
He walked in. They play the first 2 games of the series here, then they move to Pittsburgh, and Willie Stargell, who is the unquestioned leader of this ball club, goes to the mound with a comforting word. For the 29-year-old right-hander, born and raised in Pasco, Washington, now living in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania, became quite famous after the 1971 series when he left the ballpark instantly by helicopter to fly to Pittsburgh to get married. He also became a national sports personality by pitching 6 1/3 innings in the 4th game to beat Baltimore. Kenny Singleton is at the plate now. He was 6 for 16 in the championship series. He represents power.
He got to the winning very late, Keith, but his wife waited.
And the pitch is low inside. Now, Kison, in contrast to Flanagan, who went out and threw yesterday, Harvey Haddocks, the Bucks pitching coach, said Kison did not throw either last night or earlier today. Question is he loose? He's struggling right now, but he hammers home a fastball strike to Kenny Singleton to make it 1-1.
I would say the big thing that off day might have given Keeson is just taking away some of the sharpness, some of the fineness that he wants to have when you're going into a World Series. You don't want to be wild.
But he throws a lot of double play balls. Don, we worked the Bucks pennant clinching game not so long ago. It was a week ago Sunday, and Keeson threw it, and he was in trouble in the early innings, and every time got out of it with a double play ball.
Singleton fouls it back into the crowd, and there's the first souvenir.
Well, he got out of trouble in 4 of the first 5 innings, that's for sure. And
4 double plays.
That's right. And the thing that you're trying to do right here to Kenny Singleton, Singleton's got good power, because what he does, he says, I use this whole ballpark. It's 309 feet down both lines, and it drops out pretty well. But you can be late and hit it out of here right down the line, as Johnny Lowenstein did in the first game of the playoffs against the Angels. But you'll see Kenny Singleton, you get that ball up over the plate, and he'll go the other way with you and hit it out.
Bounces, blocked by Nicosia. Base runners hold.
Trying to keep it low, get him to hit it down. Keeson with a good sinker, and yet Singleton a good low ball hitter.
Now here you take another peek at it, and a good stop right here by Nicosia. Here's a super play by the catcher. Got gloves down, keeps that ball in front of him at all times, and the runners can't advance.
The 2-2 pitch to Ken Singleton. Nobody out, 2 runners aboard. It's up the middle, knocked down by Keeson. He lost his double play when he didn't come up cleanly with it, but he gets Singleton at first base. The base runners Bumbry at third now, Belanger at second.
It's going to be interesting to see just how big that play right there could be in this entire ball game.
Well, when you got Eddie Murray coming at you, Don, you know the cardinal rules. Stay away from the fastball. The guy will kill you. Hit it out of sight. But you can't always get location on the other stuff.
Well, here's a case here. Depending on how Keeson feels and how Nicosia feels about his control. Now, he hasn't been real sharp yet. You've still got first base open. Willie Stargell looking in the dugout. Would you rather pitch to Murray, or would you rather go to even the left-hand hitter, Johnny Lowenstein?
Figures to pitch to him carefully.
Pitch is inside. Ball 1. 1 out. Ball to the outfield. Or a base hit, obviously, to bring home the first run of the game.
That's where you've got to try and keep the ball on Eddie Murray. You move the fastball in, sliders in, and then you can tail the fastball down and away from him. He'll have a chance to pull off of it.
Ball 2. Low.
But you want to throw him the curve and change his speed stuff. Gabe Paul used to go crazy when with the Yankees, when those Yankee pitchers would throw him the fast stuff, and he would promptly hit it out.
He goes to bed thinking fastball.
2-0 pitch. Keeson working carefully. Went outside that time, and they're doing just exactly what you suggested, Don.
I just can't see any reason right here to let Eddie Murray hurt you, even though it's only the first inning. But you've got a man coming up that, although Johnny Lowenstein's had a fine year for Baltimore, I got to go to Lowenstein instead of Murray.
And Weaver, aware of that, had him swinging on the 3-0 pitch.
That's right. He green-lighted him. And I'll tell you, Keeson did not take anything off of it either.
It's 3-1. Walked it. The bases are now loaded with 1 out. And the runners are Bumbry at third, Belanger at second, Murray at first. And here's Lowenstein.
I think one of the key tributes that Earl Weaver has made to 3 players on this Baltimore ball club, and here's one of them, Johnny Lowenstein. The other is Terry Crowley. The other is Benny Ayala. He says, you know, everybody wants to play, but he says, I can't play everybody all the time. But he says, I've got 3 veterans on this ball club that don't gripe about anything. I platoon them, I'll put them in here, I'll put them in there. They're all up in age, but they all do the job.
Pitch is low. Ball 1.
Snake and sleeves say, tonight let it be Lowenstein.
He was born in Wolf Point, Montana. lives now in Las Vegas. Went to school at UC Riverside Anthropology. Ball is hit on the ground to the second baseman, Garner. Throws it away. 2-run score.
They had the table set. They had every card stacked perfectly. And the ball was hit to Garner. He had trouble right off the bat getting the ball out of his glove. As he sees, he turns, and now he can't find the handle. Now when he throws it, it's way away from Foley, who actually committed himself too early. Now the ball is out in left field. 2-run score. Runners at the corners. And Pittsburgh in trouble here in the first.
Colden on the button, Donald, because that ball slipped up his glove, and he had trouble corralling it, and then threw hurriedly and errantly.
Doug DeCinces comes up now with Murray over at third and Lowenstein at first. 2 runs are in, 1 RBI involved. Bunbury coming home is an RBI. The other run scoring on the error. The numbers on DeCinces for the year. He was 4 for 13, however, against the Angels in the championship series.
He is better than a .230 hitter. It was an off year for him, but he still retained that occasional home run power with 16 of them. Notable in the American League for his ability to hit Ron Guidry.
Jim Rooker is now up and throwing in the bullpen for the Pittsburgh Pirates as Keeson almost got out of the jam. Almost. There's Rooker, left-handed. So if Tanner's going to have to make a move early, he's going to make the move, which could force Weaver to make some changes in his batting order. First pitch, low and away.
That's Eddie Murray at third. At first is Johnny Lowenstein. Well, Earl Weaver will go right around with Chuck Tanner. I mean, you can tell, you can put on one sleeve at a time with both of them because they will match one another.
That's right. That's the key characteristic of both men. Use of the total roster.
The pitch is high.
I think also, in all due fairness, and there is the staff of Pittsburgh, as Willie Stargell will go in with Nicosia and Keeson and try and just settle things down a little bit. And I'll do fairness to Doug DeCinces. He had a bad back at the early part of the year, hurt it in infield practice, and he missed quite a few games. So he's been fighting that problem, but as you said, Howard, he is such a better hitter than .230, and what a play he made in the championship series. He might have just got Baltimore right here.
On Anderson.
On Jimmy Anderson, that's right. I don't know where Baltimore finds it, but they come up with some guys at third base, don't they?
The goal. 2 balls, no strikes. The count.
Crowd yelling balk, which it was not.
No, it was not. And of course, Baltimore, they have seen that play right there as he faked to third while the runner at first, Lowenstein, was walking back to the bag. He wasn't going to get caught.
Ball bounces away from Nicosia. Murray comes to the plate. It's 3-0 Baltimore. Mistakes by the Pirates, hurting them here in the bottom of the first inning.
The very thing the Pirates have not been doing until this inning.
Well, here's a ball down in the dirt. Nicosia tries to make the play on the ball, and it's just such a bad pitch that he cannot get down there. That ball hitting and then bouncing off his right shin guard and going back over towards the Baltimore dugout. No chance to get Murray coming home, and Lowenstein stands at second. That's a wild pitch.
Early in the year, the Bucks had a facility for beating themselves. They started poorly, as has so often been their wont. But if ever a team put it together, the Bucks did in their sweep of the Reds.
There's a strike to DeCinces. It's 3-1 now. 3-0. A single by Bunbury. A walk. Then you had the ground out. Then you had another walk. You had the error on Garner. Now you've got a wild pitch. You've got 3 runs in. And there's a high drive hit to left field going way back.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Forget it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Doug DeCinces with that no longer so occasional home run power. And the Birds are off to a big start. As a sign says here in the ballpark, the bird will fly.
That Doug DeCinces, he can hit him as far as anybody, and of course he's ahead on the count. And you talk about these fans, he's looking fastball all the way up over the plate, and believe me, I can tell you from past experience, there's nothing that goes further than a high sinker.
It is 5-0 Baltimore in the bottom of the first inning, and the batter is Billy Smith, the second baseman.
Remember, this Baltimore team had more than 180 home runs as a team, more than in the Frank Robinson, Boog Powell, Brooks Robinson era.
2 balls and no strikes, and Doug DeCinces nailing a home run, the 15th player to do it in his first trip to the plate. There's a strike. It's 2-1.
Well, that's a typical Baltimore rally right here. They could have been out of the inning. Pittsburgh could have with no run scored. Yep. They fouled up the double play ball, and Baltimore took advantage.
They always do, or did all year long.
Change up makes it 2-2. Rick Dempsey's on deck. Keeson's thrown 26 pitches up there.
Phil Garner.
That stroke down into the right field area. Skids in for a base hit. Parker slips, almost falls down, but gets the throw back in. So Smith is on with a single. And once again, the change in the lineup by Weaver pays off. Tanner goes to the mound. We'll see Rooker, I suspect, rather shortly.
He's already pointed to the bullpen, and Jim Rooker is coming on.
You talked earlier, Keith, about Keeson not throwing either last night or early today.
Yep.
Keeson came to Haddix this morning and said if the Pirates had other plans about another starter, he'd be agreeable. Haddix said, you're still our pitcher. But makes you wonder about his confidence, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Time is out. We'll be right back. The grounds crew out there replacing turf, putting down some sand, and trying to repair the area that Dave Parker tore up when he came over to field that line single by Billy Smith. You see his feet go out from under him there, and with the feet went the turf, leaving some big holes. So they are fixing it now as Jim Rooker, with a record of 4-7, comes in relief of Bruce Keeson, who is not able to get out of the first inning.
Well, what they're actually doing in the outfield, they're taking towels and going out and they're trying to sop up some of the water. They'll take the towels, they'll stamp on them, and then they'll go squeeze them into the bucket. Boy, it's just amazing that they got this game in tonight. When I woke up this morning and looked out the window, like somebody mentioned, they said they thought they overslept because it was snowing out.
There he is, the starting pitcher for the Birds tomorrow. One of the greatest pitchers of his time, Jim Palmer, with 225 career victories.
On Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time, one of the premier football games of almost any season. Third-ranked Oklahoma against fourth-ranked Texas. The Sooners and the Horns having at it in the Cotton Bowl down in Dallas. Should be a good one. Rooker at 37 years of age, Lakeview, Oregon, now living in Library, Pennsylvania. Came over from Kansas City. Gene Garber back in 1972. In 1977, he was 14-9, originally signed as an outfielder. So he gets the call early as Pittsburgh defensive mistakes send Bruce Keeson out of the ball game very early. Keeson going 1/3 of an inning. You still only have one out. Rick Dempsey now comes to the plate with a pitcher, Mike Flanagan, standing on deck, and 5 big runs across the plate.
Key error by Phil Garner, who has been a truly sensational player down the stretch run and
don't
in
forget
the
that
clutch.
tap back to the mound, though, that Keeson could have handled and could have earned a double, too.
Exactly.
Smith at first base now with 1 out, and here's Rick Dempsey, 4 for 10 in the playoff series. Outside, ball 1. Jerry Neudecker back at the plate, calling the balls and strikes. He is from the American League. Is the strike zone different? Well, depends on who you ask. There's one. It's 1-1.
We'll find out about that tomorrow when Bob Engel of the National League works behind the plate with Jim Palmer, high fastball pitcher, throwing his stuff in there.
That will be interesting.
Line to the shortstop Foley. Throw to first base. Throws it away. Billy Smith going to go to second. Stargell overruns the ball, and Smith's in there. You've got 2 out.
And that ball was hit like a shot, and the Bucks, as you can see, are very rattled.
Now this ball hit hard. Now Timmy has a chance at Billy Smith at first base. All he's got to do is make a decent throw. But the throw is away from Stargell. He can't make the play. Smith was hesitant about going to second base. If Stargell plays the carom and plays it cleanly, he's got a chance to throw him out at second base. So that is the second Pittsburgh error here in the first inning.
+1 of omission.
That's right.
Well, here's Flanagan's first at bat in a long time.
Once hit 3 home runs when he was playing at the University of Massachusetts against Maine in 1 game. Did. Got his name on his own bat, too, I'll have you know.
That's a lovely lady. That's Mike Flanagan's wife.
One strike to the Baltimore pitcher with 2 out now, and Billy Smith at second base. 5 runs in, it's foul back, and it's 2 strikes. And Mike's going to take his cut, isn't he?
I'll say one thing. That's throw a pitcher high fastballs, and you know they're going to take a whack at it.
Once a bird, always a bird. I met Mrs. Flanagan at the Montreal airport. She was up visiting the former Bird southpaw, Ross Grimsley. They're very close friends. I told Mike she could have made a better marriage.
2-strike pitch coming now to Mike Flanagan with 2 out. He hit .320 at UMass. Pitch is low. Nicosia comes up with it. It was kind of funny to watch him flipping around the bat in the clubhouse when the supply came in. When they started working a week or so ago and learning to bunt and so forth. He's bouncing the bat around, trying to figure out whether it was 32 or 33 ounces. And if you believe that. Tapper out in front. Nicosia's got to hurry in time. And so the first inning is finally over. But what an inning for Baltimore as they take the lead 5-0. Mike Flanagan will pitch to Willie Stargell, Bill Madlock, and Steve Nicosia. Before the ball game, Howard Cosell talked with the Baltimore lefty.
Mike, explain why you became an even better pitcher this year than you were a year ago. How and when it happened?
Well, I think early in the year I was having trouble with my curveball, and that was been my main pitch all of last year. And I kind of decided I better do something quick because I was getting knocked out of some of the games early. So I worked with Scotty McGregor on his changeup and a slider. And I think what put me over the hump was the changeup, and it made me a 4-pitch pitcher instead of a 2-pitch pitcher.
That's hard to say. 2-pitch pitcher, 4-pitch pitcher.
He said it very well.
He's a dandy pitcher, however you want to put it. But you were talking a moment ago and mentioning the fact that he had the Angels down 9-1. And
that's
they
right.
faced him.
Key point. Bucks, like the Angels, can come back.
Willie Stargell represents the lumber portion in the Pirate lineup. They call Parker Lightning and Stargell lumber. It's probably the loosest bunch of guys I've ever seen in a baseball clubhouse. They do enjoy themselves, and they are very dangerous when they take the offense. The wives of the Baltimore Orioles seated there. There's the pretty lady, married to Doug DeCinces.
They were having dinner in Little Italy down here 2 nights ago, and Doogie was mobbed by about 50 kids as he came out of the restaurant. Stood there and signed for every one of them.
So here's Willie. 5 for 11 in the championship series. And the first pitch from Mike Flanagan is high and inside for ball 1.
Can't be overemphasized that this man is one of the most remarkable men in American sport.
Well, I'll tell you something. If the pitch is in for a strike, 1-1, you'd like Willie Stargell no matter what he did.
Exactly. He is a great human being off the field. His work with sickle cell anemia, a lesson.
Change, and Willie's waving, and it's 1-2.
A lesson in humanity and his feeling for his fellow man.
The outfield shifted to the right, way back.
You could just look at the glove of Dempsey right there. That tells you the book on Stargell. A good low ball hitter. Dempsey, he almost had to come out of a crouch and stand up to get that target up high enough on Stargell.
Well, he sewed up the pennant clincher golfing a low one at Three Rivers.
He goes again for the changeup and misses and strikes out. That's the second strikeout by Flanagan.
Good breaking pitch right here. It took just a little bit off. Stargell, you see, way out in front and in an excellent location.
The batter is Bill Madlock, who is also one of the pieces to the puzzle that fit perfectly.
If you look at their record, he may have been the key piece. I'll develop that in a second, Keith. All right, now's the time to do it. Before Matlock joined the Bucks, they had won 37 and lost 34. After Matlock came, the Bucks won 61 and lost 30. What a difference.
Came from the Giants. High foul back in the crowd. That's souvenir number 3.
By the way, that 5 runs in the first inning is a World Series record for game 1.
Oh. One and one. Bill Madlock, of course, as he takes a pitch right on the inside corner at the knees for strike 2. Jumped into the headlines as he won the batting championship over the Chicago Cubs successively. Sharp shot, third base to Sensei. How cold are the fingers? Not for Doug. 2 down.
Doogie is reminding them of Brooks Robinson. Said it was the proudest moment of his life as you look at him again. Had just a fractional instant of trouble with it, but plenty of time for the throw on the right-handed hitter. Said it gave him his greatest joy after that play against Anderson, Don, in the game you called, when they likened them after the game to Brooksy.
Here's one of the finest plays I've ever seen, Howard.
Steve Nicosia, the Pittsburgh catcher, hits it on the ground, backhanded nicely by Billy Smith. And so Mike Flanagan gets the Pirates in order in the top of the second inning. And after 1.5 in Baltimore, the Orioles lead it by a score of 5-0. And this was a good defensive play by Smith as he took his time with it. Threw him out. So after 1.5, with the temperature getting down into the 30s now, Baltimore leads it 5-0. I agree. But it's the World Series, and it's been played in snow and rain for all the years. 26 times there have been games postponed, but once the bell rings, the weather is forgotten. Al Bunbury now will lead it off for Baltimore in the bottom of the second inning. Belanger, Singleton will follow. It'll be the top of the order. The Orioles batted around. The umpires are now coming in to have a conversation with Jerry Neudecker.
Well, it's the right field umpire, and that is Paul Runge coming in, and he's telling, I believe, Jerry Neudecker, saying, hey, I believe we need some help out there. They've been working out in left field. We need some help out in right field. I believe that Parker might have complained a little bit. We saw the play before back in the first inning where Parker slipped on that ball, and he might be telling him, say, look it, let's get these guys ready to go out here in right field a little bit in between innings. So that's what they're doing. I believe they're going to try and get the grounds crew, and they're going to try and move them out into right field to try and sop up some of that water out there. And you saw at the top of the program, they just poured here yesterday. Rained all night, snowed this morning, then turned into rain, and now they call the man that you talked to, Howard.
That's right, Pat Santarone, who is a veteran groundskeeper, head groundskeeper here, of course. You heard him say in the pregame telecast that they played in worse conditions back in the '71 series. Bowie Kuhn was criticized by some last night. As Bowie is looking on right now, there he is. He was criticized by some for, they felt, delaying the calling of the game last night. He felt he was in a no-win position to give his side of it. He felt, what if I had called it before scheduled game time and it had stopped raining?
Well, he was exactly right, Howard. He was in a no-win position.
And the next thing I knew, some were blaming television, saying we were holding up the game, which indicates an almost massive absence of knowledge of the position of television in the matter.
I believe now what they have told the grounds crew to do is to go back and get prepared to go out into right field this next inning, and maybe they're not even going to go out there as yet. They will let Rooker keep working because Paul Runge is standing down right by first base talking with his fellow National Leaguer Bob Engel, and now he will move out into position, and we'll see what happens in between innings.
All right, Paul's ready. So is Al Bunbury. Step again with Belanger moving to the on-deck circle, and Jim Rooker, who relieved Keeson. The book on Keeson, incidentally, 1/3 of an inning, 4 earned runs, 3 hits, struck out nobody, and walked 2. And the first pitch to Bunbury is strike 1.
This is the kind of fellow who is not only the catalyst of the club, as Don stated, but he is a good, solid hitter. He'll get you key hits with key ribbies. We had him here in a Monday night game during the year when he got the big hit with an opposite field home run. Remember?
That's right.
Fouls it back.
This will neutralize him just a little bit.
I didn't think you could get up from under the table that fast.
Told you, I'm used to ducking those.
Supposed to be partly cloudy and cool tomorrow. Then the series moves over to Pittsburgh as Bunbury fouls it back into the crowd. John Candelaria is bound to be a key figure in the pitching rotation for Pittsburgh.
Notice those stars on the peak of his cap. Those are stars awarded to every member of the team when deserving of it, in the opinion of Willie Stargell. They are called Stargell stars. And because Stargell has inspirational qualities, getting those stars from Willie is one of the things that has knit the Pirates together to the point where they're called family.
A 1-2 pitch is low. It's 2-2. Willie spent about $1,500 out of his own pocket to buy some 6,000 of them. And he's generous with them. He just passes them around. Anybody that does something noble, Willie plunks a star on them.
You must have expected big things this year.
Must have had a feeling.
You can watch the approach of Bunbury on that breaking pitch. A little different than off a right-hander.
Chops it back to the mound. Pitcher Rooker throws him out. So Jim gets a little easier start than did the starter, Keeson. Belanger up, he walked in the first inning.
And that walk was a Keeson mistake. You mentioned his failure to handle Singleton's ball cleanly to execute or start the double play. But the walk to mark immediately had Bunbury in scoring position.
Rooker quick on the outside corner with a fastball. Strike 1. Belanger in his 4th World Series. Strike 2.
Good breaking pitch that time, right down on the knees of Belanger.
It was a beauty. 1 star.
He's gone. Belanger looks at strike 3.
You know, the thing that make you feel awful bad as you look at this next pitch by Rooker, and he came back with another dandy curveball. Belanger started, couldn't pull the trigger, and in a good location. But I was going to say, the thing that have to make you feel awfully bad is if you went through that whole season and never had a star.
Just hold the door for Willie.
That's about it. Hold the door for everybody.
Kenny Singleton, out pitcher to first, his first time up. Switch hitter goes to the right side against the left-hander, and Rooker misses outside for ball 1. 2 out, nobody on.
He's a different player this year from a year ago. So confident because he's got his strength back. After 2 seasons ago, he underwent shoulder surgery, and he felt almost helpless trying to throw from right field last year. That was part of why the Orioles outfield last year was a relatively sorry lot defensively.
It was a big swing. You saw that statistic offered on your screen there, that he's been very productive when Mike Flanagan has been on the mound. And to talk about the arm from right field in 1979, he had 8 assists. He only had 1 in 1978. So that's testimony to the strength of the arm as well. That's rolled, and it's fair. And Madlock makes a fine play, and they don't get him. The throw's in the dirt.
We got to call out a hit, though. We'll be hearing from Kenny Singleton in just a couple of minutes, and you'll hear him explaining how he became a new man.
This is a good play by Madlock to get over to the ball, and then all of a sudden his momentum carries him across. He doesn't get real good footing, and then the throw a little bit shallow. Singleton with a slide. I don't know whether he comes up with that ball. Here we look at it again. Makes a good play, but now going away from the bag. That's a tough play for any third baseman.
Well, he wasn't playing the line. Sometimes a guy plays the line when you don't expect him to be playing the line, and that's what the sensei was doing on the hit by Anderson.
Exactly
he was
right.
playing the line. There was no reason for Madlock to be playing the line on that occasion.
Not right now.
Protecting against an extra base hit.
Eddie Murray also turns and goes to the other side of the plate against the left-hander, and Rooker is outside for ball 1.
Keith, he's got power both ways, believe me. And he's about the same type hitter both ways. As Howard stated before, just a good, solid fastball hitter.
Change is outside.
Now you see the way Rooker's trying to work him. Gone with cute stuff.
Trying not to give him the fastball, if at all possible.
Lowenstein on deck, 2 out. Singleton at first. Hit to center, base hit. Ball gets out to center field in a hurry. Really skips. So the outfield out in that area is in good shape.
Well, that was it. The low fastball, and he hit a rocket.
Look at that record against Baltimore. Not very impressive, is it? He was with the Royals at the time, of course. And Lowenstein, forgive me, Keith, stays in there. With a 5-0 lead, why not?
Well, it's still very early. Of course, if you go to make your defensive changes right now, well, Pittsburgh's got 7 more whacks at you, and you can't count them out. They can play catch-up in a hurry.
2 on, 2 out. Lowenstein stands in, swings and misses on a breaking pitch for strike 1.
If this was, say, maybe the 7th inning, 6th inning, 7th inning right there, why, Earl Weaver in all probability would go to Gary Renicky.
Maybe, but with a 5-0 lead.
Not right now, not in the 2nd inning.
Never. This guy's a kind of self-taught psychologist, Johnny Lowenstein. Adjusted beautifully to spot play.
That pitch misses. It's 1-1. I think we touched on it a moment ago, but when you have good, solid professional athletes sitting on that bench available for spot play, who don't run around and do clubhouse lawyering and just go about and do their job, that's a very valuable ingredient in the assemblage of a team. And that's what they've got here.
It certainly is. Both teams are in effect family.
That's right. John checks on it, cost him 1-2. John will tell you real quick, he's not fooled at all. He's not an everyday player. He's really a fun guy to be around. He's an anthropology graduate of UC Riverside out in California. Rooker comes outside. Now 2-2. The base runners are Ken Singleton at second and Eddie Murray at first. Waiting on deck, Doug DeCinces, who homered back in the first inning, good for 2 runs. 37-year-old Jim Rooker blows the fastball in there, and Lowenstein strikes out. So Baltimore doesn't go down easy in the 2nd, but they do hold them, and the Orioles lead it 5-0. There's the effort to repair the holes, and I would imagine with all the water they've had, in fact, I can see another spot out there in short right field where the seepage or the water's sort of maybe coming up out of the ground, but there's definitely a small puddle about 25 or 30 yards from where they're working right now. It's just plain old-fashioned mud.
Well, I think the big thing here, as we mentioned before, that the Baltimore Colts played here, and where it is so obvious with all the mud and the water, would be actually on the sidelines of the football field where the players were. And there's some spots where they're moving in out in right field right now. They're in normal positions of where the outfielders will play. The outfielders will play a little bit different here at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. There's tomorrow's game, 8 o'clock Eastern. And on Friday, there'll be no off day, don't forget. Also 8 o'clock Eastern time, game 3. But the outfielders here in Baltimore will bunch.
There's Kenny Singleton. We told you he had become a new man, and he had explained how. Here's my talk with him.
You're a new person in the outfield. Explain why.
Well, this year I have more confidence. Last year I didn't really want the ball hit to me because I couldn't really throw it back the way I wanted to. This year I really feel good in the outfield. I've been throwing the ball well all season long, and you know, the runners seem to be stopping this year. They don't try and keep going anymore.
This relates to your off-season surgery.
Yes, 2 years ago. Last year was a different story. Everybody got on first, couldn't wait to go to third base on me. This year they seem to be holding up quite a bit.
Pre-game comments of Kenny Singleton. Phil Garner, the Pirates' second baseman, is the batter. Strike one on him. The pitcher, Rooker, is scheduled to come next, and then the top of the order, Moreno, and that's fouled high up in the air and drifting back into the crowd.
This is a pepper pot ball player, this Phil Garner. And talk about clutch play, hit .377 during the month of September with some key home runs. Saw the graphic on him.
There's a pitch right there that is a bread and butter pitch for Mike Flanagan. That hard slider or breaking pitch right down on the inside corner of those right-hand hitters. They have a tendency to give up on it.
That's 3 strikeouts now for Mike. Here's Jim Rooker coming to the plate. Hits from the right side.
The Angels caught up to Flanagan, as we noted, when he had a 9-1 lead in the game that the Birds hung on to win 9-8. But here in Memorial Stadium, they very rarely, as you looked at a called ball, ever hit Flanagan. We showed you a graphic to that effect early.
Well, he was 14-2 here all year long. That's not bad.
Rooker fouls it off, and the count now 1-1. Mike pitched last Thursday in that second playoff game, and in that game, Ray Miller, the pitching coach of Baltimore, said he had the best fastball he'd had all month, staying pretty much in the high 80s and low 90s with it. Oh, look at this. Rooker lays it down. Flanagan makes the play. Jimmy trying to get it down toward third base, and I think if he'd been able to roll it more down the line, I don't think DeCinces had gotten him.
I don't believe so. If he'd have got it down the line, you're exactly right, because he got it actually between the line and the pitcher's mound.
World Series history on the Pittsburgh Pirates. See that they lost 1903. That was really not the Red Sox. It's the franchise that became the Red Sox. They called them Boston Pilgrims back in those days.
That's a new fan.
Yeah, my blanket, huh? Pretty well behaved dog to endure all this noise and be so passive about it. Omar Moreno coming up now, rolled out to the second baseman first time up. Let's see if he gets on. It's going to be interesting to see what he does first time he's on, but they are down 5-0, so he can't be as ambitious perhaps as he might like to be. DeCinces is in on the grass now. He's not going to give Moreno as much room down that line as he did Rooker, and Moreno chops it, and then the ball sails gently out into center field, and the catch made by Bunbury to end the top of the third inning. So after 2.5 innings of play in game 1 of the '79 World Series, it's 5-0 Baltimore.
That's Dave Parker, highest paid player in baseball. And that fact militated against him early this season. Our conversation explains why and what happened.
You seem much more at peace with yourself than I think I've ever seen you, because you were troubled even when you got the huge contract. You were shocked by some of the letters you received, some of the public reaction that was so adverse. You've settled down now, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I think I really had to battle with myself to just realize that, hey, you know, with all the things that's taking place with the contract that came along with it was the people breaking in my house, vandalizing my home. Of course, they vandalized my car a few times, but I just finally put it in a proper perspective. Well, baseball is my life. This is what I got to do for a living, and hey, without baseball, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I just kind of push everything else to the side and say, well, hey, when I'm on the field, I'm in my own world. Can't nobody mess with me here. And I think it took about a half a season for me to get that together, but I did have quite a few things to sidetrack me from my concentration towards the game, and I just fought to get that back and just realize when I'm on the field that I'm in my world and can't nobody bother me out here.
It's a terrible thing when you are penalized for being successful, but he's got it in perspective, and he's a heck of a player. Doug DeCinces is up there. You know, Brooks Robinson hit a home run in his first at-bat, the 1966 series. The man who has succeeded him now has hit a home run in the first at-bat. Well, we're happy to be here. Just glad the snow didn't stick.
Well, I'll tell you, that was the series when they belted the Dodgers.
Yes.
4 games in a row, and Kurt Blefary made a catch here the Dodgers still don't believe. Right, Donald?
That's right, and I know who he hit the first home run off of.
DeCinces at the plate. The pitch is low. It's ball 1. Billy Smith's on deck, and Rick Dempsey will follow.
We were talking about Baltimore setting a first inning record in a first game. I thought they broke that off. I thought they scored more than that off me.
5-0 Baltimore leading with 5 big ones in the first. The crowd out there in the bleachers in left field yelling, hit another one, Dougie, and the pitch is in there for a strike. It's 1-1. Strike 2 on the outside corner. Suffered a slight pull Saturday in Anaheim Stadium playing against the Angels when he went around first. Whirlpool treatment yesterday and his left leg back at the knee. He's all right. Jim Rooker relieved Bruce Kison in the first inning. Count is now 2-2. 4 of the 5 runs on the board earned. And Pittsburgh had actually 3 opportunities to get off the hook and didn't do it. Shot foul.
You know, just watching Jim Rooker throw tonight, he started the year on the disabled list, but he's throwing well tonight.
Cal Ripken is the third base coach for Baltimore. Jim Fry at first base.
Now that could be dangerous, playing that far off the line against Doogie, couldn't it, Don?
Well, he's not too bad. He really isn't. DeCinces is not really what you'd call necessarily a dead pull hitter, trying to protect a little bit to the hole.
Pretty good pitch.
Yes, it was. He has Doogie leaning.
And he tried to bring it from the outside in. Tried to bring a breaking pitch out there, and he just did miss.
Count is full at 3-2 on DeCinces. He's another Californian. A lot of those fellas in baseball, good reason for it. The weather out there enabling the youngsters to play year-round. And they develop it. So DeCinces gets a free pass to first base from Rooker.
Second baseman,
Billy Smith comes up now, and Smith had a single in his first trip tonight.
You know, Keith, one of the things I'm sure that had to enter Earl Weaver's mind in changing his lineup just a little bit and putting Billy Smith in at second base instead of Rich Dower. With the starter Kison, what Weaver has going for him is an added plus. He has got, as you look at Weaver down in the dugout, he's got an added plus because he's got Singleton, Murray, and Smith that are all switch hitters. So all they have to do is turn around.
Not only that, as our graphic showed, Don, Smith has been a hot hitter.
He has.
In the recent days.
Matlock jumps and gets it. Second one, back to first, 2. Just a little more bounce. It's in left field.
That ball was hit hard, and Matlock did make a good play. He had it right up. You can see a lot of white showing. Now he has to reach in, make sure he gets Anna DeCinces. He comes in hard, but Garner has just enough time to get the ball out of the way.
Rick Dempsey
Catcher.
had a pretty fair series in the American League playoffs, didn't he? Rookie is just low.
Well, I agree with Howard when he was talking about the comparisons between the two starting lineups, that this guy right here has got to be one of the most underrated catchers in the American League, and maybe all of baseball. He does an excellent job. He's a great handler of pitchers. He calls a good game, and he's got an excellent arm.
Really gotten two vital commodities from the Yankees, haven't they? Rick Dempsey and Scott McGregor.
Yes, sir.
And there's a youngster named Martinez hasn't done badly for them either. Tippy.
And great out on the bullpen.
3 balls and no strikes now to Rick Dempsey with 2 out. Mike Flanagan, the pitcher, waiting on deck. 5-0 Baltimore. 3-1. I would suggest, I think, too, 3-1 pitch. Bat comes apart, bounced out to the second baseman Garner, throws over to first and gets him. And so Dempsey bounces out to end the 3rd inning of play at after 3. The Orioles lead the Pirates 5-0. Want to see a bat explode? Watch this. Dempsey's bat just literally comes apart. And he's thrown out at first base. When that lumber and those splinters start flying around, 'tis a time to be nimble.
And when you get the ball out on the end of the bat like that in this kind of weather where it's down in the 30s, you just go back to the dugout and count your fingernails.
NFL football on ABC.
That's a big one Sunday night. The Rams against the Cowboys. The Cowboys now in possession of John Dutton, one of the finest defensive linemen in football, acquired by way of trade with the Colts of Baltimore. Then Monday night, the Vikes against the Jets. In the meantime, Tim Foley, and this, my friend, is a contact hitter, Keith.
And it's also the second time around for the batting order for the Pittsburgh Pirates against Mike Flanagan. Parker will follow, and then comes Bill Robinson. Birds are leading 5-0, and Mike Flanagan's fastball has plenty of pop in it for strike 1.
When I say contact hitter, Keith, he has struck out only once.
That's foul.
In his last 238 at-bats.
Dandy catch by the young lady. The ball rolled down the left field line.
And he hasn't struck out at all in his last 138 at-bats. So he meets the ball.
Looped out into short center field, and it drops.
See what I mean?
Yep.
You'll get wood on it one way or another.
Well, he's up on the bat handle about 4 inches, and that'll tell you something right there.
Listen, you remember a guy, the late Mr. Branch, Ricky, used to say he can't hit, he can't run, he can't field, he can't throw. What he can do is win. He talked of the brat, Eddie Stanky. Well, Timmy Foley may be an uppercase Eddie Stanky.
Dave Parker normally uses a piece of wood at the plate, 37 ounces and 37 inches, and the average man needs help to tote it.
Well, I know one thing. If that's what he's using, you've got to be strong to swing that.
I'll tell you.
You have got to be strong.
He has gone as high as 39. Pitch is high and tight.
Interesting thing about the Bucks with their left-hand power, primarily in the form of this man in Stargell. They've been shut out by a southpaw only once this year, Don, and that was Pete Falcone of the Mets in one of his rare effective performances.
Parker up there. Swings and misses, and it's 1-1. Dave doubled his first time up, has one of the 2 hits, and that pitch came into the plate at 90 miles an hour. This misses Jim Rooker right there.
Go, Dave! Orioles!
Oh, Dave.
As you watch the Flanagan And the way he comes set and then kicks and comes to the plate, he's got a good move because he really does not commit himself. He gets up there and he balances, and that's a good move. A left-hander that can do that, it's got to be an added plus. They cannot take the liberty to run on you.
2-1 pitch. He goes to first.
And Foley wasn't that far off, and he almost picked him off. He's had a poor move in the past.
Yeah, he got 8 this year, Don. That's quite a few. Into right field, base hit. Parker 2 for 2. Foley turns at second. He's going to third, and he's in there.
So you see the southpaw isn't stopping. Those are the Pittsburgh wives. And they've seen their team come from way behind so many times this past season. But Parker 2 for 2 against the southpaw.
Bill Robinson struck out swinging first time up as Flanagan threw him a diving, spinning curve. That was a beautiful pitch.
Now there is a graphic that shows you a significant difference for this year at least against lefties as against righties.
Nobody out, runners at the corner. Foley at third, Parker at first. Parker has plenty of speed, 20 out of 24 in stolen bases, and Robinson fouls it off for strike 1.
Parker's amazing. The endless season he was going to the opposite field with such great success. He'll go any way on you using that ballpark. He can do so many things.
High chopper at third base. Foley holds. DeCinces makes the play. Parker goes to second, 1 out.
Now there's a smart play by Tim Foley at third base. He had a notion to try and come, but there's no need to even try. You're down 5 all.
Not only that, the ball hit in front of him.
Right in front of him. He started to come, and then he kind of kicked himself a little bit, but he made the right play.
Here is the big man. Look at that hitting in the National League Championship Series. Tremendous competitor for MVP honors in the league.
You can tell how cold it is. The breath pretty steamy. Winds it up, and the pitch is inside.
Interesting now as you look at Chuck Tanner. Of course, he's got the towel wrapped around his neck because it's chilly, as Keith and all of us have noted. Flanagan has not gone to the chain.
That's interesting.
And I'm just watching and wondering how long it's going to be before he goes back to that chain.
Got Willie on it. Let's see. Yeah. Fastball, and it's a shot. Second baseman has it. Throw to first base. Run scores. 2 out. And finally, Pittsburgh gets on the board. Parker going over to third. Foley comes home as Willie Stargell gets an RBI. 2 down. Madlock coming to the plate.
Said before, of the 2 ball clubs on the field, the Pirates have got to be the one that you would say, well, they can play catch up with you. They can catch you if you get a big lead.
Bill takes it low.
But if you go into the 9th inning trailing Baltimore, they have some of the most incredible statistics in the history of the game. It's almost impossible to catch them on the record, or at least this past year, Don.
They can throw some stoppers at you. They've got them sitting out there in that bullpen. I'll guarantee you that. Both clubs have excellent relievers.
They don't beat themselves.
No, they don't.
There's a change.
What a beautiful pitch.
1-1 to count, and here's the pitch.
Well, he's just got Madlock fooled. That's all there is to that. Bill might have thought it might have been a little low.
1-1. Madlock takes it. Makes it 2-1. Nicosia's on deck. Swinging that paddle, warming up. Two and two.
You could see the finger, and then he went inside, and that's exactly where Flanagan threw it. He hit that inside corner beautifully. See where he wants to go this time, and we can pick up the sign from Dempsey.
That's foul. Oops. Souvenir hunter out of the stands. Goes back in a hurry.
A lot of memories for some of these players on each team as they look back to the 1971 series.
Coming back inside.
Foul again. Pretty much the same place. Get down underneath that tarp to dig it out.
Belanger talks about how the Birds won the first two in '71 and thought they had it cinched. The Bucks won the next three, and the Birds won, and then Roberto Clemente finished.
Fouled away, and count holds at 2-2.
That's Timmy Foley's wife, a lovely young blonde lady. She and her husband both thought his career might be finished with the Mets this year, and they sent him away a new life.
Oh, Madlock got all of that one, didn't he? Just foul.
This is a tough hitter. Tough.
Flanagan got a little fortunate right there. He hung that breaking pitch up over the plate, and he hit it on the screws.
It's a man who's found a home here. Every other manager tried to fit me into a mold, Matlock says, but not Chuck Tanner. He lets you be yourself.
Just outside. It's now a full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. 1 run is in for Pittsburgh. Dave Parker is over at third. You've got 2 out.
Madlock has got to me, has got just a great swing. Very short and very compact.
Full count coming. Now time.
You can see right there, Madlock was not going to take his eye off of Flanagan. He held his right hand up and said, time. If he doesn't get it, he's got to get it back on the bat.
Ball 4. Runners at the corner now with 2 out. That's a pretty close pitch.
It sure was. Watch it again.
He's trying to get the fastball up a little bit.
Catcher, Steve Nicosia.
Just off the inside corner.
That's the first walk issued in the ball game by Mike Flanagan. Steve Nicosia is at the plate. Nicosia's first time up. He rolled out to the second baseman, and there's Mrs. Nicosia.
Meditate. Let's go, Nick. Let's go, Nick.
Played winter ball 1976. He caught Mike Flanagan during winter ball. We're in the top of the 4th inning, and it's a 5-1 ball game as Flanagan is inside. And the Baltimore bullpen now with Sammy Stewart getting loose just in case.
Neither manager on average will waste time. Tanner stayed with Keeson in the 1st inning.
That's hit on the ground to Belanger. The shortstop over to second to short way to get Madlock coming down from first base. And the top of the 4th is over. But Pittsburgh punches through to get 1 run. And we are at 5-1 in the middle of the 4th. There's the line score in the ball game as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning for Baltimore. The pitcher Mike Flanagan, Al Bumbry, Mark Belanger. Flanagan says his most memorable moment at the bat came in 1975 at Rochester when they'd give away $50 for hitting a home run leading off the 6th inning. One time the home run pool got up to $800, and you know what? He won it. Hit a home run leading off in the 6th inning. Oklahoma, Texas coming up on Saturday out of the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Both teams undefeated. One of the great rivalries in college football. We'll have it for you at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, and 12:30 Pacific. Then I'm going to the Texas State Fair and eat a whole bunch of cotton candy.
I tell you, that Texas defense appears to be exceptional.
It's very good. I also have a young kicker named Goodson who's hit 8 field goals in the last 2 ball games. I haven't been able to get in the end zone all that much. Chuck Tanner now pacing around in the dugout. That big guy with him is Bob Skinner. Out on the mound is Jim Rooker. In relief for Bruce Keeson. Bert Blyleven scheduled tomorrow night for Pittsburgh against Jim Palmer for Baltimore. Here's Mike, who was thrown out by the catcher his first time up. First pitch from Rooker to Flanagan is inside. For ball one.
I was mentioning that neither manager will wait long because of what they've both got in the bullpens. Should there be any trouble coming up. But Tanner did stay with Keeson because Keeson got into first inning trouble, not solely through his fault.
Count is now 2 balls and 1 strike to Flanagan. When the series is done, Mike and Kathy will move to their new house in Amherst, New Hampshire. It's about 15 miles west of Manchester. He's hoping one of his trophies that's fouled away is going to be the Cy Young Award.
I don't think he has much to worry about in that regard. Bill Robinson and Mrs. Bill Robinson. They know what it is to struggle. They thought Bill wouldn't make it because of what happened to him with the Yankees, a dismal experience.
That's popped back foul out of play.
But with the Phils and with the Bucks, he formed a new career. He had come up to the Yankees by way of trade from the Atlanta organization, and he was highly touted. Great natural ability, but it didn't work for him in New York.
Enrique Romo cranking up in the bullpen for Pittsburgh. He came over from Seattle, and he's performed nobly for them this season. Had Mike leaning on it, took it 3-2 the count now on the Baltimore pitcher.
Now the reason they have Romo up, the pitcher, is the scheduled second hitter. So Chuck Tanner will go to his bench.
They're getting along now. Baltimore at bat, bottom of the 4th inning. Flanagan rolls over the right side, fourth under Stargell's glove, and Flanagan's on. Well, let us see now. Will the pitcher get a hit? Or will the pitcher, first baseman for Pittsburgh, get an error? It looks to me like an error, but we'll see.
I got to believe Willie Stargell will like to have those hit to him all day long, because I think he'll make the play all day long. But he just didn't get
Gave him an error.
They give him an error, and that's a good call.
3rd error in the ball game for Pittsburgh. 3rd. And the first one was terribly expensive. And Al Bunbury with Mark Belanger to the on-deck circle. Bunbury in the ball game, a single, scored a run. The first run of the game, he's 1 for 2. Turns to bunt, takes it, strike. That's Romo continuing to warm up in the bullpen for Pittsburgh.
He may have been waiting on a pinch hitting situation, Don, but he's a guy who'll show you 6 pitches, 7 pitches a game if necessary.
Well, that's exactly true. Rooker gets in trouble right here. He won't hesitate to bring somebody in to get out of the inning, and then he'll pinch hit for them and go to the next guy.
Exactly.
Bunbury taking a good long hard look at the third base coach, Cal Ripken. He's offered the bunt on 2 occasions. The ball and strike count is 1-1, with the pitcher Flanagan running at first base. Pulls it back and takes it. It's 2-1. There's a left-hander, Dave Roberts, now joining Romo in the bullpen, so Chuck's warming up from both sides. Well, it's 3-1.
Well, here's a case right here. When you know the man's going to bunt, he's told everybody in the ballpark he's going to bunt. You may as well let him bunt.
I would agree with that.
May as well just go ahead and let him bunt. No need being fine with him. And you have the runner at first base for the pitcher. If he gets it down, you might be able to have a play at second base.
He finally puts it down. Rooker comes down to get it. Flanagan goes on to second. Garner covers it first. Bunbury's speed makes it close. Flanagan running on the bases. And remember, we're not using the designated hitter in this alternate year of the World Series, playing it the National League way. It is a cold night. The pitcher's been standing out there for quite a while.
This is where a lot of people have the pros and cons about that designated hitter. Here's what they like to see in the middle of the summer, where you have the pitcher running the bases like that, and just check the stamina of that pitcher and see if he can go 9 innings and run the bases a few times.
Mark Belanger, the batter, with 1 out.
You don't like the DH, do you?
Well, not especially.
Belanger swings and misses.
You see, Madlock, the third baseman, of course, Belanger can handle that bat so well, and Madlock knows that through their scouting reports. He's even with a bag, and just off the edge of the grass, he is not going to give Belanger the bunt. He will bunt on you.
When you say Mark can handle a bat so well, excuse me, Keith, you mean because of the experience he can manipulate it despite the 167 batting average of the year.
Don't let that fool you. He can beat you.
There's a little looper, a little carry to center field, and Moreno makes the catch. 2 down. Ball had more spin on it as he went underneath it, and it just lifted right on out to center.
Now here's the guy he's got to get by. Singleton. After Singleton, Murray. They're a tremendous 1-2 punch.
Here's a case that really puts a lot of burden on the outfield. Now, we've talked about the bad weather. We've talked about the outfield being in really tough condition. Well, a good outfielder is going to know, I've got a pitcher at second base, 2 outs. I got to know that there's a guy at the plate that can hit the ball to me hard for a base hit. I've got to charge it hard because I know I've got to play at the plate, but now I've also got that bad turf.
High to right center. Moreno and Parker, and it's Parker on the call and the catch. And the inning is over. So Flanagan stops at second base. And after 4, Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 1. Game number 2 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time here on ABC. Game number 3 goes over to Pittsburgh on Friday at 8 Eastern time. We're concerned right now with the opening game of this 76 World Series. And the Buccaneers, with a big crowd having traveled over to Baltimore, they gobbled up every ticket available to them. And they're enjoying a 5-1 lead right now as we go to the top of the 5th inning. And we will go with Don Drysdale to call the play for you. And Don, this is the 3rd largest crowd for a World Series game here in the stadium's history, 53,735.
And you've got to give them all credit, Keith, because they are here under adverse conditions, because it is chilly, and they had a big crowd here last night that stayed through the rain until they finally called it. But right now they've got their Orioles on top 5-1, as it'll be Garner and then a pinch hitter. And we'll go to the top of the order and Omar Moreno.
This is the young man who wants to make up, and you see how well he hit in the championship series. He wants to make up for his critical error in the 1st inning.
Now, Garner caught looking his first time at bat at .293 on the regular season.
Manny Sanguillen has come out to the on-deck circle as a pinch hitter.
Now Chuck Tanner going to the old pro, Manny Sanguillen.
Manny's another veteran of that 71 series. When the Bucks play the Birds, it's like a city series.
Good change, and Flanagan out in front 0-2.
It's that kind of rivalry. The cities are not that far apart. That's Mrs. Phil Garner. Usually when Don takes over an inning, the runs come in profusion.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Garner. Flanagan out in front, 5-1 Baltimore. We're in the top of the 5th. Game number 1 of the 79 series. Bunbury, the book on Garner, it appears, for Baltimore. He will play him in right center field. And just missed inside. And
Flanagan. Yep, you saw that. Didn't like the call, Don.
Not too happy, but I'll have to throw another one right there and see how it I get.
See the pitch again. Pretty close.
The 2-2 pitch. And he came right back with that same pitch again, and Garner just did get a piece of it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Garner, the leadoff hitter in the Bucks' 5th. Hit hard and hooking away from Lowenstein. It'll go to the wall. Garner on his way for 2. as Lowenstein will hit the cutoff man Belanger, and Garner leads it off in the Pittsburgh fifth with a double.
So as they started the lineup the second time around last inning, they began to get to Flanagan and scored a run. Look at that. Look where that pitch was done.
Got the breaking pitch up over the plate. Look at that ball hooking away from Lowenstein. He had no chance whatsoever. Then skipping through the mud and off the wall. The biggest thing you could do then was run it down. So Garner's at second base, and here's Manny Sanguillen.
And we told you about the Bucks' ability to play catch-up baseball. They did it all year long. In the late innings, they can terrify you. There's not a weak spot in their lineup.
That is to Belanger on a couple of hops, as he will throw Sanguillen out. Now Garner has to remain at second base, and we go to the top of the order on Omar Moreno. He is 0 for 2 tonight. He's bounced to second, and he's lined to center.
Baltimore has a history of these angular shortstops with a kind of antelope lope. After all, Belanger came after Ron Hansen. Here is Omar Moreno, and there is Mrs. Moreno, trying to get something started with the whistle.
Come on, sweetie, you can do it.
She knows the folks heard her.
Well, he's done it all year. He's had a fine year. 282, 8 home runs, 69 RBIs, 77 stolen bases. And as we've said, he can make this club go. The third baseman, Doug DeCinces, up on the grass. He's going to take away a bunt situation from Moreno if he's going to come that way. DeCinces, after the pitch, he will take a step in and then a step back quickly to third. Belanger in a little bit of an awkward position. Now here's Dempsey. Here's what I mean, where he will take over. He will come in. He will make sure that he has got everything squared away with Flanagan. He wants to make sure he knows exactly what's on your mind. DeCinces will double check with him. Belanger's got to keep Garner close at second base. Billy Smith is back at his second base position, so that means Belanger's got to move over a little bit. Tanner, he'll turn him loose at any time.
That's that pitch.
Good off-speed breaking pitch.
Beautiful.
0-2 to Moreno. Moreno's led the National League in stolen bases the last couple of years. There's a nasty pitch, left-hander to left-hander, as he dropped from the side.
Rick took a quick look at Newdecker behind the plate. Found no solace there.
A ball and 2 strikes, 1 out, 1 on. 5-1 Baltimore. Good curveball. The 4th strikeout for Flanagan tonight.
And as you look at it again, it came at a big time. He pitched Moreno beautifully. First the changeup, got him on a swinging strike, and then the curveball. And here is the little contact hitter, Timmy Foley.
Well, you see, Foley 1 for 2. He's flied to left, singled and scored. The only Pirate run of the night. That was in the 4th inning. There you see a Foley up on that bat handle. He's up about 4 inches. One and 0.
This is a feisty kid who's taught himself all the subtle skills of the game. How to advance the runners, how to hit inside out, how to hit and run.
He's given a lot of credit to former manager Gene Mauch. 1-1 the count.
Mauch told him early in his career, Tim, you're never going to be a star. Forget it. He said at first that discouraged him. Then he came to realize Mauch was exactly right. Mauch's had a great influence upon him.
Foul right side. 1-2 the count.
Elrod Hendricks with a face warming mask. Ellie will be remembered forever for a brief stint as a pitcher in Toronto a year ago.
See, I think he's putting on a little bit with that now.
Now Foley fighting off that curveball, fouling it over in the Baltimore dugout. Count remains 1-2, 2 outs. Garner at second base.
Talking about Gene Mauch, Howard. I tell you, Gino's influenced a lot of young people in the game of baseball.
Sure.
He really has.
He recognized Foley was the same kind of ball player Gino was.
That's right.
And Gino was a disciple of the late Branch Rickey, and Mr. Rickey early spotted Gino as a potentially outstanding manager, which he is.
Big hop to DeCinces. Gets the handle and throws him out. Now the Pirates are gone in the 5th inning, and after 4.5, it remains Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 1. Now we're back here in Baltimore with the Orioles on top 5-1. Just about everybody getting into the act. There's the Oriole here in Baltimore. And we have the 3rd Pittsburgh pitcher of the evening. It'll be Enrique Romo coming on. Romo, just prior to going to the mound, he made sure that he walked into home plate umpire Jerry Neudecker. And Neudecker was telling him, he said, now, no, you can't go with your fingers to your mouth. Romo then gestured, can I blow on my hand? He said, yes, but don't put your fingers in your mouth.
Meanwhile, Romo is a pitcher of whom pitching coach Harvey Haddix is especially fond. He throws just about everything and has a remarkable screwball that goes straight down. In the meantime, there's Doogie DeCinces, who'll be coming up this inning, who's had the 2-run homer. I spoke with him earlier.
Doogie, you're finally coming out of the shadow of Brooks Robinson. You can see it happening and feel it, can't you?
Well, you know, when you make a play like the one that I did, it's important, and everybody across the nation is watching it, and then everybody starts remembering the fact that in 1970 Brooks made all those fantastic plays, and I guess it does remove that little bit of a shadow.
Well, they've got the shadow right now of Doug DeCinces at 3rd base here in Baltimore, and he's going to be a fixture there for quite a while. It'll be Murray, Lowenstein, and DeCinces. As you look at Enrique Romo, Romo a record of 10-5 on the year. He made 84 appearances. That's one thing about Chuck Tanner. He used that bullpen. You had Romo with 84. You had Toccovi with 94, and Grant Jackson with 72. Romo, he was acquired from the Seattle Mariners with Rick Jones. They sent a fine young shortstop over there, Mario Mendoza, and also Odell Jones, a pitcher, Rafael Vasquez. That was in December of '78. And now you see what Weaver has. He gets to have Murray come up, and he'll turn around and hit the other way. And he 1 for 1 tonight. He walked and scored and singled.
Well, what you have to look for with Romo is that remarkable screwball that Harvey Haddix loves to talk about. He said, I've never seen one like it anywhere. I tell you, it goes straight down.
Well, he'll throw you everything but the kitchen sink every now and then. Now Murray stands in as we get ready to go to the Baltimore 5th. 5-1 Baltimore.
Because it goes straight down is another reason Neudecker told him to keep his fingers out of his mouth. Drysdale, an expert on the subject.
Off-speed breaking pitch. There's a Baltimore fan. And you know that they're happy. Baltimore, they really picked up some fan reaction here. I was talking to Brooks Robinson during the playoff series, and he said, they've had great fans here in Baltimore, but he says for the last year, he said it's been something short of fantastic.
Well, it all relates to the year of siege against the Baltimore sports franchises. And then the Baltimore News American Drive, the motto on every bumper sticker you can see. The birds belong in Baltimore. That's what they call them here, not the Orioles as it says on the jersey, but the birds.
Romo moving him back with that breaking pitch, and that's been their slogan there. The bird will fly. And they're going to have to fly in a hurry after game 2 tomorrow night on to Pittsburgh. No off day. Rain took care of that yesterday. This is maybe one of the few fastballs that you'll see Romo throw.
Yeah, but he threw it almost out of the ballpark, too. They're going to let Murray get a hold of it. I looked up this morning, woke up pretty early, and looked out the window, saw that snow coming down. I got up, went out in the hall, and got the paper to make sure I was in Baltimore. I'm serious, it happened overnight.
Boy, I'll tell you, those were big flakes, too.
Oh, wow.
There it is. There's the Scroogie. Drops a little low on the count 3-1.
Who was the best screwball pitcher you ever saw?
Well, Ruben Gomez had a pretty good one.
Oh, he sure did.
How about a fella named Warren Spahn?
Oh, he had an excellent one.
He is, if that man hadn't been in World War II, he would have had 400 career victories.
He misses and Murray walks. Tried to bring that breaking pitch from the outside in. Mike Marshall didn't have a bad one either, Howard, and still does. Now Johnny Lowenstein comes on. He was on the big error by Garner in the first inning. That accounted for a couple of runs. He later came on to score, and he struck out, so he's 0 for 2. But along with that, the 1 RBI. Romo certainly no stranger, as we mentioned before. He was with Seattle, so Baltimore knows a little bit about Romo. One and 0. Here's a case where you look at Weaver and you know that you got Romo, who does not throw a lot of fastballs. He tried to sneak that one by Johnny Lowenstein, and with a score 5-1, and even though you have that hole open on the first base side, but you've got good speed in Murray, and he's liable to green light it, and Romo knows that. Here's a case sometimes where you, with speed, you take away the best pitch from the pitcher, and that is Romo's screwball. Lowenstein fighting that Scroogie off. The count 1-1. Baltimore 5 runs on 5 hits as you look at Earl Weaver in the Baltimore dugout. Boy, that's quite a career record.
And he has a good time doing it.
He's a good, solid baseball man. Fly ball center field, Moreno. That is out number 1. Now with 1 out and Murray at first base, that'll bring on Doug DeCinces, who homered his first time at bat, and he walked in the 3rd, so he's 1 for 1 and has a couple of RBIs.
Remember what we said early in the telecast about the unexpected ones so often being World Series heroes. Of course, we're only in game 1 and it's very early, but this is the kind of guy who doesn't have the big stats going into the series, who can kill you. And in this first game, he is thus far, apart from possibly Mike Flanagan, the outstanding player with his 2-run home run.
We're through 4.5. There you can see a little bit better as far as that dirt and mud going along in shallow left center field. 0-1. He went with the breaking pitch. Bottom of the 5th, game 1 of the 1979 World Series, and boy, those 3 errors underneath that E for Pittsburgh have been, well, 2 of them been mighty big. Pretty good move that time by Romo. All he does is drop that left leg back, and he's got a pretty quick move over there. 1 ball, 1 strike the count. DeCinces with a big hole to shoot through on that right side. Garner cheating over towards the bag a little bit at his second base position. And of course, Stargell, there you see the hole. And Stargell holding Murray at first base. 2 balls and a strike.
He had him set up for that pitch, didn't he? And he let it get it outside.
DeCinces, you know, it's interesting to watch his stance. He just lays that bat right on the right shoulder. Says, all right, I'm ready. Romo, of course, aware of the speed that Eddie Murray possesses at first base. Baltimore and Romo taking too much time as DeCinces will back out. Get a guy that has all those pitches and he starts shaking you off. It's hard to figure out which one he wants to throw, especially if he wants to decoy once in a while. That breaking pitch, and he hung it. DeCinces a little unhappy with himself.
Is he a little bit like a younger Louis Tiant?
Louis will make you wait. He'll make you wait a little bit. He doesn't have that kind of stair-step stretch coming down where he just kind of bounce like Tiant does. But he'll make you wait a little bit. He is not the fastest worker in baseball. You can say that. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Little looper, and it could be trouble. Parker will be there. And he just about slipped as he made the catch. Now Murray at first base, 2 outs, and the second baseman Billy Smith comes on. I'd love to have a sound mic on Parker's shoes out there in right field.
Yeah, if it was a warmer night, the frogs would be croaking.
You know that he's got to be sloshing around.
Yeah, but I tell you, the beating this thing has taken. They've had 5 football games here. The weather just hammered
3
it.
of them in the rain, Keith.
And it's incredible they could even get it in this good of shape. They really have worked their tail off.
That is how the Birds picked up a big 5 in the first inning. There goes Murray. There's a strike, and forget about it. Nicosia could not find the handle, and Murray has a stolen base standing up. Billy Smith, he is just tickled to death to be in this series. He said, you know, it's like a kid in Wonderland. I guess that could be true, I guess, for everybody that's been in a World Series a time or two, or even the first time, especially the first time.
And especially a young man who really isn't going to be a regular for somebody, but you know, if fortune has it, now they're going to put him on. So he can one of these days tell his grandchildren they walked me intentionally.
And of course, the reasoning behind that, you've got the right-hand hitter Rick Dempsey standing right behind him.
Yeah, but Rick is a dangerous hitter despite his low batting stance. This Baltimore team lulls you. They really do, Don.
They do. It's a funny club. If you watch them enough during the course of the year, after a while you sit back and say, well, yeah, he says, I know they've won. I know they've won 102 games. Eddie Murray, the reason Garner was over there, just making sure that Murray wasn't going to get too far off the bag. But the thing about Baltimore, they don't have a lot of sensational players. They've got good, steady, everyday players. They play Earl Weaver baseball. They play sound, fundamental baseball. But they've got great pitching. And they just don't beat themselves.
And they're a team.
And they are a team. And he goes through everybody. Here's Dempsey. He is 0 for 2. Line to short and bounced to second. 0-1 on a breaking pitch.
He might like to have that pitch back. That was up a touch.
Up a touch. Got a slider over the plate. 0-1. There's a guy here that you don't pay attention to him, and he's going to hurt you with it. Had a big key double here in the very first game against the Angels in the playoff series. Hit it off the piping in left field. Murray at second. And Billy Smith at first.
Yeah.
You could see the difference in the thinking right there. Romo shaking his head. Nicosia wanted it down and away, and he got it up over the head of Dempsey.
That earned run average, Haddix will tell you, is totally deceptive for the last 23 games he's appeared in.
2 balls and a strike. You see, Romo really doesn't like as you look at Murray at second base. And at first base, Billy Smith, hands in the back pocket, trying to keep him warm. Doesn't like to give you that fastball to hit. He'll show it to you to try and set up the curveball, the slider, or the screwball. That is not his best pitch. That's about his 3rd best pitch. Slider low. 3-1.
Let me tell you something about Rick Dempsey. He started hitting pretty well in the late season, and he attributes it to Coach Jim Fry, who had him close his stance. So many hitters find at least temporary advantages out of a change of batting stance. Of course, the great ones adjust according to the pitcher, like Rod Carew's got 4 basic stances. Dempsey's not in that kind of hitting class, of course, but he can hurt you in the clutch.
Full count now, 3-2, and with 2 outs, the runners will be going. Murray from second base and Billy Smith from first. It's 5-1 Baltimore. We're in the bottom of the 5th. You see Billy Smith talking with his first base coach, Jimmy Fry.
How about Jimmy Fry? One of the rumors, and good Lord, with all the gathering of baseball people this time of the year, there are a million rumors. I don't know if there's any substance to it at all, but a lot of talk that Jim Fry might get the call to go to Kansas City as manager.
It's a pretty good ball club to inherit.
Runners go. That's loop foul. Well, the count remains full. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on.
Beginning with George Brett.
Yeah, how'd you like to inherit George Brett?
Excuse me, I did a show with him over the weekend at Pepperdine University. He had been out hunting with Whitey Herzog, the deposed manager. He's in great shape, by the way. He said, I came too late, hit 329. He said, I should have hit 350 this year.
Runners go again, and he pops him up in shallow left field. There is Robinson, and that is out number 3. Now Baltimore is gone. They lead it 5-1 through 5, and we'll be back with more baseball after this word from our local stations. Now Mike Flanagan starting inning number 6. And had a chance to talk with Mike a little bit. There's his record about the hitters that really concerned him on the Pittsburgh Pirate Club, and this is what he had to say.
Now, you've studied the scouting reports on the Pittsburgh lineup. You find yourself thinking mainly about Parker and Stargell, or do you feel you have a big edge against them because you're a southpaw and you're more concerned about Matlock?
Actually, I am more concerned about the right-handed hitters. Left-handers, I usually pitch more or less the same way, but the right-handers, Matlock and Bill Robinson especially, gave me some trouble this spring. So I'm more concerned about the right-hand hitters, and I'll try to pitch my same game against the lefties.
Well, so far, he's allowed the Pirates a run on 4 hits. And here in the 6th inning.
And so far, this man is 2 for 2, the
That's
lefty.
right. That's right. It'll be Parker, Robinson, and Stargell.
Steve Stone up in the bullpen for Baltimore now.
Parker, he doubled his first time at bat and singled his second time at bat. First time, it's interesting. There's you see Steve Stone. He had a fine year.
Well, we saw him pitch a dandy in Milwaukee.
Yes,
We
sir.
really did. One of the biggest games of the year. It's the game that put Milwaukee out of things.
There's 3 for 3 for Parker. As Bunbury will play it on a hop. And boy, I tell you what a ball player this guy is.
He is just great. Let's watch his swing. He got so hot at the end of the year. He had a 5-hit game in the final series. As you saw that, describe that swing, Mike.
Yeah, to me, it's really kind of a picture swing. He didn't have a big stride, very short and quick, and then boom, his hands took over. He's got to be strong, as we mentioned before, swinging at 37 bat. It's 37 inches, 37 ounces. Here's Robinson. 1 ball, no strikes. Robinson 0 for 2 has struck out and bounced to third. Here's another guy that can hurt you with just one swing of the bat. 24 home runs on the year and 75 RBIs. Good change.
That's the pitch we told you about at the start of the game. You heard Mike Flanagan himself describe it. It's the pitch that made him, as he said it, a 4-pitch pitcher instead of a 2-pitch pitcher. It's the pitch that made him a complete pitcher.
Another change, and it's bounced foul by Joe Lynette. And Parker has to go back, and the count moves to 1-2.
David had that big 5-hit game against the Cubbies in the final series of the regular season. That's when he was going with the pitch to left. When it was outside, he was hitting inside out. Now here against the Southpaw, he's hit everything to right.
Well, that'll change his scouting report a little bit, Howard, if you start looking at that and say, well, wait a minute, this guy's going the other way, just trying to pick up some singles here and drive in some runs. So they've tried to jam him a few times, and he had just come up to the occasion. There's a jam job, and that's a good one, too. 1-2 the count.
At the same time, Don, there are certain pitchers who will ignore scouting reports as you look at this again.
He gets that pitch right in. A little half swing, check swing there by Robinson. Well, the pitcher still has to pitch his own game.
That's right. That's the point.
Can't go away from your strengths.
Kent Colby, for instance, he throws one way. He throws out all the scouting reports. At age 15, growing up in Cincinnati, they already called him the whip. He throws like Ewell Blackwell, and he throws that
loop to right, and that's going to be a base hit. As Singleton gets on it in a hurry, and Parker has to stop at second base, so all of a sudden the Bucks have got something going here in the 6th inning.
The one thing about a scout report for a pitcher is you can't put circumstances on a piece of paper. That's the problem.
Now the Bucks on top of the Baltimore Orioles in the hit department 6-5, but with 3 errors for Pittsburgh. Baltimore on top in the run department 5-1 as Willie Stargell comes on.
And here they are chopping back.
Well, they're just one big swing of the bat in this guy from being right back in it.
Stoddard's also working in the bullpen for the Birds.
Good off-speed curveball. There's Stoddard, the big guy on the left side, and left-hander Tippy Martinez on the right side of your screen.
Stoddard is huge. He's the Raddatz type.
Was a power forward in the basketball.
That's right.
Stargell 0 for 2 tonight, has struck out and bounced a second. Drop from the side. 0-2 the count.
Notice no batting gloves for Stargell.
That is a rarity today. There's Chuck Tanner. Good speed curveball.
He has really pitched Willie beautifully. Strikeout number 5, and the second time he's gotten Willie. Look at it again.
Comes by way of first base. He's taken just enough off of it, and Stargell has already committed himself. Here's Madlock. Bounce to third and walk. Loop to right center, but Singleton coming on in a hurry and makes the catch. Now Parker has to stay at second base, and Robinson at first base.
On that turf, that was not an easy play.
No, it wasn't. I'll guarantee you Earl Weaver took a deep gulp down in that dugout.
Kenny had to go all out and risk that his spikes would hold. The chief groundskeeper told us the spikes would hold. Dave Parker has had trouble in that area tonight with the spikes. But for Kenny and Frank Robinson right there, motioning to his outfielders where to play.
Made a pretty good pitch on Mal. He got that pitch in on him. He had to kind of inside out that ball a little bit. Don Robinson throwing in the bullpen for Pittsburgh.
That's a fireballer. Throws bullets.
While they have a little chat at the mound, Nicosia will go back and grab the pine tar rag. 2 outs, 2 on, 5-1 Baltimore. We're in the top of the 6th.
Robinson's one of those guys. He's got to use his strengths. He's got to pitch his game as you look at him. Same thing as I was saying with Tekulve. The whip-like arm, the buggy whip arm, everything low.
He's got good stuff. If he's healthy, that's the key to Robinson this year. Nicosia 0 for 2 tonight. Hit hard and look out, foul. Well, Flanagan had the first 2 men on. Singles by Parker and Robinson. He struck out Stargell and got Madlock to fly to right. Good change, and you saw how far Nicosia was out in front. 1 ball, 1 strike. That's Parker at second base.
Still, Flanagan's been flirting with trouble. First 2 men on as you look at Robinson on first. Parker on second. Last inning, Garner got him for a double to open the inning. It can catch up to you.
Change inside and the count 2-1. See that breath, Flanagan. It is chilling. 86 pitches by Flanagan so far. Three and 1. Murray trying to slip in behind Robinson at first base. Garner in the on-deck circle. There he is.
He's the man who doubled to open the 5th.
Hit to the hole. DeCinces boots the ball, picks it up, and can't make a play. Parker goes to third. His second base is Robinson, and the Pirates have the bases loaded. Now we'll see how they score that as you take another peek at it.
Tough play. The ball really didn't. It hung up in the air for a long time and forced Doug into the position of having to short hop it. But they're going to give him an error.
He deserved it.
Now that's what you get after they watch you make great plays all the time.
That's right.
Now's the chance for Garner to really atone for that first inning error that opened the door to DeCinces' 2-run homer. This is the first Baltimore fielding mistake, the one you just saw. And let's see if the Pirates can capitalize.
Good fastball for a strike. 89 miles an hour. They clock it. Lee Lacy down in the on-deck circle.
And that is a good pinch hitter, the former Dodger.
Good off-speed curveball. There's Mrs. Garner. What do you think she isn't pulling?
Scared, Bill.
What a beautiful change of speed pitch.
Garner closed the regular season with a 14-game hitting streak, and now the fans come alive here in Baltimore. The 2 strikes. They look for the strikeout. Look out, and a great save by Dempsey.
How about that?
That had backstop all over it, didn't it?
Oh, this was a look at it again. This is a truly exceptional play.
Tried to take a little bit off of that breaking pitch inside and bounce it down at the feet, and that is a tough play for a catcher. But look the way Dempsey plays.
Wild pitch written all over. Inside. Vision obscured by the batter to some degree. The body not able to get behind the ball. And yet the use of the glove to block it.
Well, the fans still, they look for the strikeout. DeCinces, and it's foul. Hands on their feet. And right there.
He really tried to decoy Terry Tater, didn't he?
He did.
Got in between Tater and the ball, too.
It's beautifully done. The man could become an actor. Watch this.
He got right in front of the
Beautiful pickup, too.
That's one of the things. Look at that backhanded pickup. You talk about soft hands.
Next week, he gets the Joe Namath Rolling Picnic in Akron, Ohio.
Now they call time as they move the golf cart out in the Pittsburgh bullpen. They usually move that golf cart back and forth. They bring the pitchers in. They switch usually.
I think they ought to get 2 of those carts.
That's right. Uh-oh, that's foul, and he hung himself a little off-speed curveball, and Garner was not fooled that much. A ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs, bases loaded, 5-1 Baltimore.
Garner is a tough player.
There's Parker at third. Robinson at second. And at first base, that is Steve Nicosia.
And he's a tough player because he's played tough with the Oakland A's.
Shake him around in the Baltimore dugout.
When they had that great old gang in Oakland.
Well, it appeared when they had that great old gang, Howard, that when he took over for Dick Green, that they were going to stay with that great old gang. But
by the way, there's another of those unsung World Series heroes, Dick Green.
That's right. A ball, 2 strikes.
How do you like that figure? That's the one we mentioned earlier.
Hit hard, base hit left field. Here comes Parker. Here comes Robinson. Lowenstein will bring it back to third base, and all of a sudden it is 5-3 Baltimore with the tying runs aboard.
They keep coming back, and certainly Garner has a tone.
I'll tell you, he just fights that slider off of him and hits it to the hole, and now that will bring out Earl Weaver. Lowenstein has no play. Johnny just makes a good play to get in front of the ball and get it back in. So Weaver will talk to Flanagan and Dempsey.
You've had Stoddard, you've had Stone, and now you're getting Tippy Martinez up in the bullpen. So there have been 3 pitchers out of the Baltimore pen, but Earl just stomps a little bit, and tries to jack up Flanagan and leaves it.
Staying with Mike. In the meantime, as you look at Garner, as he got that hit, and you look back through the years with Phil, and the way he produces in the clutch. Here's Lee Lacy. Told you earlier he was on deck, the ex-Dodger. That's the kid, Phil Garner, right there. He likens this Pirates team or clubhouse to the way it used to be in Oakland.
0-1 to Lacy, who hit .247 in the year with 5 home runs and 15 RBIs. The Pirates trying to fight back. The tying runs aboard.
Lacy's grown accustomed to this pace. He's the only man in baseball who's played in the last 3 World Series.
That's right.
With the Dodgers for the last 2 years, and now this year with the Bucks.
Paycheck's getting to be a habit.
He kind of likes it.
It's like Bob Fleming used to be in the Super Bowls.
That's bounce foul. Joe Lynette will make the play. Lacy coming to the Pirates in the re-entry free agent draft this year.
Fleming used to have an answering service. Left a message at his home. Have gone to play for the season. Reach me after the Super Bowl.
No balls, 2 strikes to Lee Lacy. 2 outs, 2 on. 5-3 Baltimore. We're in the top of the 6th. DeCinces bobbles the ball. Does he make the play? No! And he can't make the tag. So 2 errors by Doug DeCinces here in the 6th inning has given the Pirates the life.
And how quickly the shifting tides of fortune can change.
There you look at it again, and the ball, actually the ball, Doug let the ball play him. The ball came up on him, then he misses the tag. And then Nicosia just about slides by the bag, and he almost gets him coming back as you take another peek at it.
Talk about the brilliance of his defensive play. You give him the edge over Matlock in fielding for that brilliance. You talk with him about his great play to save the series against the Angels. And just then, he comes up with 2 errors that have led to the Bucks' 2 runs thus far in this inning.
There's Moreno with the bases loaded. Good fastball, and he had something on that on pitch number 100.
There's Omar's wife again.
Come on, sweetie. He's rooting too.
Guess what? He's going to get called the rest of his career.
Pops him up. Bunbury right there. And that is out number 3. So the Bucks are gone, but they pick up a couple of runs. And after 5.5, it is 5-3 Baltimore.
That's Phil Garner. I talked about the Oakland clubhouse, the Pittsburgh clubhouse. He's been in both. I talked with him about that.
Would you contrast for me the atmosphere in the Oakland clubhouse when they were in their heyday with the atmosphere in this current Bucks clubhouse?
A lot of similarities. Of course, there's the same free-spirited atmosphere. There's a lot of jovial kidding, a lot of jiving back and forth, a lot of games being played against ball players. I think there's a certain amount of camaraderie that we have among our teammates here that we certainly had in Oakland. But I think the big thing, the two big things are, we had a great leader in Oakland in Sal Bando. We have a great leader in this clubhouse in Will Stargell. But another great similarity between the two clubs is that although we kid around in the clubhouse a lot and sometimes we get angry at each other, but once we put that uniform on, we're strictly professional. We have one thing in mind, and that's to go out and win a ball game.
Now the words of Phil Garner. He drove in a couple in the 6th inning for Pittsburgh to make it 5-3 Baltimore. And you're looking at Don Robinson. He is the 4th Pirate pitcher. We said before, Chuck Tanner will go through that staff if he has to. He'll try and hold you wherever he can. Robinson, on the year, he only relieved 4 times. He started 25 times, a record of 8-8, and a 3.86 ERA as he will face Flanagan, the bottom of the order, and then go to the top of the order in Bunbury and Belanger. In the championship series, Robinson got a save and a victory, but he's had problems with a sore right shoulder this year.
Oh, he can fire, though.
Oh, he can throw. You hate to see a young man like that can throw the way he can throw. And he just threw that first one 93 miles an hour. A good breaking pitch. Two and 0.
He's a great big old strong guy, born in Ashland, Kentucky, lives now in Canova, West Virginia. He's 6'4", 230 pounds.
2 balls and a strike the count.
He's only 22.
He can turn it loose. I'll say one thing about Flanagan.
He's got a swing.
He doesn't get cheated.
For a guy who hasn't hit in how many years?
Oh, I don't know, but you know, that was one of the things they talked about, Mike Flanagan. You two guys brought it up a little bit earlier, that he can swing the bat a little bit. He hasn't actually hit for himself since 1975, and I guess that was down at Rochester. They were laughing here and had stories in the paper about the pitchers, the Baltimore pitchers, getting ready to hit. Somebody, I think, made the right statement when they said, you know, it's kind of like riding a bicycle once you learn how. And if you can do it all right, well, you really never forget. Good swing, but he strikes out.
You know, you look at this ball game in perspective, you can see how quickly the ebb and flow can change. In the first inning, DeCinces with the 2-run home run, the hero. Then DeCinces with the 2 errors, the GOAT. In the first inning, Garner with the big error, the GOAT. But now Garner with those 2 runs driven in and 2 hits in his last 2 at-bats, coming on, making up for the mistake of the first inning.
Now that will bring on Bunbury. Foul away. Well, this program is being brought to you as an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports. Now let's pause 5 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves. Oh, and 1 to Al. He is 1 for 2 tonight with a run scored. There's that good breaking pitch. 0-2 the count. To Foley, he's got to go, and they get him. 2 gone. And this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or the use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited.
I'm glad you finally got to read that.
He's been waiting all season. The big thrill.
There's 2 gone, and here's Mark Belanger.
Meanwhile,
Look out.
as usual, the Twin D got us some runs.
Yep.
We've got a tough, tight ball game now, and a typical Pittsburgh ball game. Coming back, and the relievers holding on.
A ball and a strike to Belanger. He's 0 for 2, but he walked in the first and scored a run. That was an unearned run.
The Birds have not had a hit for 3 2/3 innings.
That again is a little bit of a trait of Baltimore. Sometimes they'll sneak up on you in a hurry. Then all of a sudden they'll throw some leather and good pitching at you. And most of the time that will be enough. But you're in the World Series now. You're playing the best of the other league.
And yet, in perfect truth, errors have led to all of the scores. 3 errors for the Bucks, 2 for the Birds.
A ball and 2 strikes to Belanger. Oh, just missed. Yes, he says.
Hanging in there.
2 hops to Foley. Low, and Stargell a good play to dig it out. And Baltimore gone 1, 2, 3 here in the 6th inning. 3 up, 3 down. There you look at it one more time. Foley stayed back now. He sees the big hop. And now in the dirt to Stargell. And the big guy stays right with it, makes a good play. So after 6, 5-3 Baltimore. That's the story from Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. Game 1 of the 1979 World Series. I'm Don Drysdale, Keith Jackson, Howard Cosell, as we go to the 7th. And once again, here's Keith.
And we look to Tim Foley, the Pirate shortstop, to lead it off. Parker's on deck. Robinson will follow. 5-3 ball game as Flanagan pitches, and it's rolled to Belanger. And that thing is a little bit like a hot potato, isn't it?
But that's exactly why Earl Weaver is playing Mark Belanger in this, the first game of the '79 World Series. Look at the antelope.
That is not an easy play for Belanger. That ball's hit pretty good, but well, I don't know how many Golden Gloves he's had, but I'll tell you one thing, that's exactly why he makes them.
Look a little bit like Mr. Marty Mary.
A little bit.
Dave Parker 3 for 3. Double, single, scored a run. The only home run in the ball game by DeCinces for 2 runs in the first inning when Baltimore did all the scoring. No win. Big swing, change, and it's strike 1.
We told you right at the top of the game that the Bucks do well against southpaws. It is like Parker, let's face it, can hit anybody.
Tap toward DeCinces. Doug comes and throws and gets him. 2 down.
Well, there's the first time that Flanagan tonight has gone to the off-speed pitches to Parker.
Right.
The other 3 times he went to the hard stuff, and he said, well, Mr. Dave, you made a believer out of me.
Don't forget, on Saturday at 3:30 Eastern, Oklahoma and Texas out of the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Freddie Akers Horns undefeated. Barry Switzer Sooners undefeated, featuring the Heisman Trophy winner Billy Sims, and Bill Robinson hits it high in the air to right field, where Ken Singleton waits, calls off Al Bunbury, and makes the catch. And so very quickly Flanagan retires the Pirates at the top of the 7th, and the score remains 5-3 Baltimore. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th inning now. John Denver's country boy music. In the background of the crowd standing and taking their 7th inning stretch, Don Robinson. He's out on the mound for Pittsburgh. He'll be working to Ken Singleton, Eddie Murray, and John Lowenstein. You've got a flamethrower on the mound, and you've got big guys coming to the plate who love to jump on the hard stuff. Robinson pitched 2 innings of the National League Championship Series. He got a save and a victory, but he still has a bit of a problem with a sore right shoulder. Doesn't bother him going an inning or 2, but get beyond that sometimes, and it grabs him. And he's had a whole bunch of x-rays already on that shoulder, trying to figure out exactly what.
More than 30. More than 30. If he's going to have trouble, it would seem to be against Singleton and Murray and Lowenstein.
Singleton goes back over to the other side of the plate, being a switch hitter, and he takes strike 1, and Robinson certainly not backing down. He came right at him with a bullet. Pulls a string on 1 and misses, and it's 1-1. Those of you who have joined us a little late, we'll tell you in just a moment, as the pitch is inside to Singleton, just how it all happened. Pittsburgh jumped out in front by a score of 5-0, getting 5 runs, and there were errors of commission as well as omission in that first inning by Pittsburgh, enabling Baltimore to get the big 5. But the Pirates came back with 1 in the 4th and 2 more in the 6th, and that's where we are at 5-3. Don Robinson is the 4th pitcher for Pittsburgh. Keeson started, did not get out of the first inning. Rooker followed, pitched well, then Romo for an inning, and now Robinson. And the count is 3-1 to Ken Singleton. The temperature is in the 30s, and it's fouled away. Of course, the weather is one of 5 or 6 things that mankind can't do much about.
Welcome to the Winter Olympics.
Playing conditions are the same for both sides. Three-two pitch. Ball 4.
Now the Bird fans come alive. They know there's a flamethrower out there. They know Murray's a fastball hitter. Remember, he's had 25 home runs, 99 runs batted in. Tonight he's 1 for 1. The single came when he was batting right-handed. Sign, the mood of the fans, all speaking for themselves. Again, for those of you who might have joined us late, Louis Kuhn decided at 5:24 after traversing the field with the head groundskeeper that this game could be played. The field looks at points choppy, but everyone was assured that the risk of injury was minimal, if at all.
Murray stands in, also switching around. Something comes.
I don't know whether that was a sponge or part of the sponge of Nicosia just popped out to the right side. I was looking for Singleton to go to second base.
I was too. I thought it was a ball. That's how hard Robinson throws. He's exploding the glove.
He just knocked the padding right out of his glove.
Murray's the kind of hitter who can send Singleton home in a hurry, especially against this kind of pitcher.
Yeah. They give Eddie left center in the outfield defense. And he took his cut, and it's 2 strikes.
He got it by him.
Well, I'll guarantee you, if Nicosia was sitting back thinking about a little catnap with that foul tip that got him right dead center of the mask.
Yes, he's back in the ballgame now.
He's back in the ballgame, right.
Notice the paraphernalia he's wearing, a la Steve Yeager.
That's right. That's to keep the foul tip from moving up underneath the chest protector and getting in the Adam's apple or in the throat.
Lordy, how would you like to have that happen on a night like this?
Don't even think about it.
Oh, a foul tip on a night like this. 2 strike, and Murray, feeling that Robinson had taken too long, steps out on him.
There you see the way that he will hold the ball. He throws up over the top, and he'll hold it across that seam right there, and he gets it up, and that ball's going to ride on you. It'll take off.
Punch foul, left side, going to the crowd. They came out tonight. The umpires this afternoon were early. They knew the inclement conditions might require a large number of baseballs. They rubbed 10 dozen.
You might add, too, as we had that shot of Robinson You hold that ball behind you where that first base coach can take a look at you. If you should change on different pitches, you better change in your glove. Otherwise, they will pick it up.
2-strike pitch to Murray with Singleton on first base, and it's just outside. No play at first as Singleton steps back in. Bastargel holding the inside corner with a left-handed batter at the plate. Garner is pulled halfway down. Parker is deep in right, respecting the power of Eddie Murray. 1-2 pitch misses, and it's 2-2.
You know, Howard, you were talking about the field and the condition that it's in right now, and a lot of people might be wondering, well, you've heard us talk about the infield was covered, but the outfield has not been covered. That's the Oriole first inning, how they scored the 5 runs. But I think they probably are thinking, well, why didn't they cover the outfield? Well, it can be covered. The only problem being with all the rain that they had yesterday, if they would have covered the field and then say the rain might have stopped a half an hour or so before game time, the groundskeeper here in Baltimore says that's fine, I can do that. The only problem is it takes me 4 hours to take the tarp off.
It's a lot of canvas. The 2-2 pitch to Murray. Fouled away. Count holds right there at 2. That's Kenny Singleton going back to first base. When they go over to Pittsburgh, they go onto the rug.
That will make a difference.
Well, that's also, as much as you talk about the artificial surface, that is one thing that is a help when you have that kind of weather that they had yesterday. Of course, that chant in the background is Eddie, Eddie.
Fly ball to center field. Marino loops around and settles, makes the catch. 1 out. Singleton goes back to first base.
He changed up on that. That was not the fireball.
It's a good pitch.
Darn good pitch.
Here comes Big John Lowenstein. With 254 on the year. There are the numbers tonight. He's done a little bit of everything for Earl Weaver's ball club this year. He's pinch hitter, pinch runner, played all 3 outfield positions, filled in a couple of times at first and third, and one time he played all 3 outfield positions in the same game this past season. You got 1 out and Singleton on first, and Robinson's fastball finds the target for strike 1. 94 miles an hour.
Ooh. I was going to say he had something on that pitch.
What would you feel like, Don, if you stuck one of those in on the handle?
In this cold?
Right there out on the end of the
You'd
bat.
have some harmony in your body, wouldn't you? Whew. That's outside.
Just take off the batting glove and just check all fingernails. That's all.
You go stick it in a bucket of hot water.
That's the fastest ball thrown tonight. That one 96 miles per hour. It's great to be 22.
That's right.
That's a close pitch, but it missed. And it's 2-1.
Not the only thing you could think about Don Robinson as far as velocity is concerned, comparing him with these Baltimore boys, just watching them and trying to compare him with somebody in the American League. You'd have to think fastball or velocity wise is Nolan Ryan or Jim Curran.
Two-one pitch. Foul back. It's even at 2.
You know, the thing that you hate to see, too, when you talk about 22 years of age, there's a story tomorrow right here from Memorial Stadium, Game 2, 8 o'clock Eastern. Then the scene shifts to Three River Stadium, Game 3 on Friday, same time, 8 o'clock Eastern. Guy 22 years of age, you just hate to see that little history of arm problem. You'd like to see him just stay healthy for about 10 or 12 years and see what he might do.
And especially one that you can't really define. They keep searching for the real problem. Well, again, that's close. It's full at 3-2. Another factor in Lowenstein's favor, one of the reasons that he's an awfully handy guy to have around, he has patience at the plate.
John's a good, steady ball player. Boy, he gives you an honest day's work every time he goes out there.
There goes Singleton. The pitch is hit high in the air to the left side. And Bill Robinson, the left fielder, makes the catch. You've got 2 out. Here comes DeCinces now.
Watching Lowenstein run off the field, he's limping a little bit, Keith. I just wonder whether he might have pulled something out there in that outfield. Now, he might not go out for the next inning with, now that he's flied out. They might send Renicky out there.
Well, one thing is sure, the groundskeeper's not going to get hurt.
No.
Earl's getting a little itch.
There he is.
There's Renicky.
That's exactly what they'll do. They'll just go to Renicky right now.
So indication somebody might have been Salvon, the Ralph Sanborn trainer, who touched Lowenstein on his left knee when he came in. So Gary Renicky will get the call. Here's DeCinces. He hits the ball hard to right center field. Parker, with his dashing speed and his long arms, runs it down on one of the best plays of the night. And so, great catch by Parker. The Orioles are turned away. And we have played 7 innings of baseball, with Baltimore leading by a score of 5-3. As we watch Parker run it down, he just literally outran the baseball. You see him splashing through that puddle?
That's it.
So there we are, and back with more baseball after this word from our local stations. John Lowenstein is in the dugout now. He's out of the ball game, showing some signs of a sore left leg. Replacing him in left field, Gary Renicky, who is a fine defensive ball player.
And speaking of defense, that play, that inning-ending play by Parker, was exactly why we had to give him the edge over Singleton. He saved a run with the play. He has marvelous foot speed, especially for so big a man. As we said, he can do so many things. A superb athlete.
Willie Stargell leads off, and Willie Stargell has had his troubles with the lefty Mike Flanagan in the ball game. Struck him out in the second inning, got him on a roller to second base. Though Willie did deliver a run batted in on that roller. He struck him out again swinging in the 6th inning. He's been showing him that changeup, and Willie has not handled it. He comes back with that breaking thing that just drops out of sight, and now he's out in front, 2 strikes.
Willie came into this game troubled. He sent word up to me after I'd gotten to the booth that his room was burglarized last night.
It's foul.
He was robbed of $2,000 and a lot of stereo equipment. And you hate to see that happen to anybody, let alone a man so fine as this. Wire service story just confirmed the information that Willie had sent up to me earlier.
Joe Safety came up earlier and confirmed it as well. Don Stanhouse now cranking up in the bullpen for Baltimore. He's going to be a free agent, I guess.
He's also a free spirit.
He is. Over in the Pittsburgh bullpen now, you have the left-hander Grant Jackson. Jackson, incidentally, was a pitcher for Baltimore back in the 1971 World Series. A 1-ball and 2-strike count on Willie Stargell.
Now you saw the catcher Dempsey. He wanted the breaking pitch, but just before the pitch was thrown, you could see him stick his arm out to the side and say, come out here with it, don't come over the top. Now he wants him over the top.
Hit high, hard, and deep, and so long. It's a 5-4 ball game. You can get Stargell for a while, but sooner or later.
Right now, this game is clearly in the pattern of the Pittsburgh team during the whole second half of the season. Tanner using relief pitcher on relief pitcher. The relief pitchers holding tight. They've gone 5 1/3 innings now. As you look at this again, without allowing a hit to the Birds, and then pecking away, getting the key hits, given the opportunity. Gone is 2-run blow, and now Stargell. So we've got a 1-run ball game.
Ray Miller is at the pitching mound. The pitching coach of Baltimore, has gone to have a conference with his left-hander.
Well, you saw Dempsey. He wanted him over the top, but he just didn't get over the top enough. He got it in between that sidearm breaking pitch and over the top, and he hung it right there. And Willie says, not again. There's Stargell down in the Pittsburgh dugout.
5-4 now. Buccaneers have 8 hits in the ball game. Baltimore has been nailed down by this succession of relief pitchers for Pittsburgh, and Bill Medlock stands at the plate and takes strike one.
Bill didn't like the call, as you can see. Now, out of the Parker Stargell duo against the southpaw, the winningest pitcher in the big leagues. 4 hits, 3 for Dave Parker, and the big home run just now by Willie Stargell.
Well, you can see that Madlock's a little hot, and he's talking with a man that will give it right back to him. I'll guarantee you that. Jerry Neudecker. He will not take too much.
Pitch is low. It's 1-1 to Matlock. Nicosia is on deck. Then Garner. The ball is hit to center field for Bumbry. 1 out. Now the Pirate catcher Nicosia comes up. He's been on base twice with a double and a single, and was caught looking by Flanagan back in the 3rd. Excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong man. It's Nicosia. I was looking at Garner's stats. He's 0 for 3.
He was on that big air, though, by DeCinces, Keith.
Got around to 3rd. That ball is fouled off on the right side and drops into the crowd. Those are winter colors down in that crowd, too, with all the parkas out tonight. Oh, he really had Nicosia fishing. So Steve strikes out on a bad pitch, and you've got 2 down.
Well, he gets the changeup. He doesn't get it the height that I don't think he wants it, but he has enough off of it outside. And Nicosia, he just can't lay off.
And here's the little pepper pot with the 2 runs batted in the 6th inning. In the clutch after DeCinces had opened the door with a big error. And then DeCinces made a subsequent error that did not cost.
That's 6 strikeouts now for Mike Flanagan, and he's low to Garner. It'll be Bert Blyleven for Pittsburgh tomorrow against Jim Palmer. Not the usual season for Palmer. 1 ball and 1 strike now. Lowenstein's problem, sore ankle. Banged it up back on August 9, and he hobbled a bit with it, and it took him out of the ball game. Garner swings and misses.
Oh, another excellent change. And I would guess that sore ankle by Lowen. I just think that wet turf might have just aggravated.
Must have aggravated it.
That's all it was.
Night like this brings out and makes those little aches big aches sometimes too. DeCinces at 3rd, lost it in the lights.
You could see that. Saw him trying to shield his eyes.
Trying to fight it all the way. That'll be a base hit. Now he's trying to side saddle it. It gets up, and all of a sudden he says, whoop, it's in the lights. Tries to shade, tries to side saddle, get it out of the lights, and he just can't. He cannot do it. It won't come out.
Rene Stennett comes out as Chuck Tanner continues to use the bench.
There's another look at it, and that's tough. That ball gets in the lights, and it won't come out. You try and move to this side. You have time, move to the other side. And at times when it just doesn't come out, that's exactly what happens.
Doogie feels a little bit snake bit with what's happened to him in the later innings.
Stennett at the plate. He can do a lot of things for you, including play pretty solid second base for you. That was his position. With Garner there, no way. on a regular basis. A 5-4 ball game here in the top of the 8th inning. And Stennett punches it down into the right field side. It's going to drop in there for a base hit. It drops softly, enabling Garner to make the turn and go to third. And with 2 outs, you have runners at the corner.
Now you wonder how long Earl Weaver is going to go with this. A 1-run ball game, and the Pirates insistently chopping away at that once big lead.
Well, he kind of inside outs the
Did you
ball
see that?
just a little
Beautiful.
bit. And he just drops it down in the corner. And of course, Garner with 2 outs, he's going to be going all the way. He makes it to third easily. They know the arm of Singleton, who got on the ball fairly quickly. And Stennett was not going to be the 3rd out going to second base. And the reason that they will stay with Flanagan right here
is because he's lefty.
Now, number 1, he's won 23 ball games. He's the winningest pitcher in the major leagues, and you've got the left-hand hitting Moreno standing at the plate.
But he has given up 10 hits, and he's given 4 of those hits to the left-handed hitters. 3 to Parker, as we said, and a big home run to Willie Stargell in this very inning.
Moreno 0 for 4 in the ball game. So if you're a Buccaneer fan, you believe in the law of averages, you probably are taking a little hope here. That's fouled away.
But that pitch up.
Well, you get that pitch up over the plate. Going to the whistle this time.
Well, she's been whistling all night.
Such faith, I suppose, should be rewarded. The big left-hander out there's got something to say about it. He's in front. He comes outside. The ball again blocked by Dempsey, and it's 1-1. Garner at third base, representing the tying run in a 5-4 ball game. And Rennie Stennett at first base.
Again in the pattern of this ball game, seizing upon opportunity. That's what the Bucks are trying to do right here because of the ball lost in the lights by Doug DeCinces.
Punch foul back in the crowd. That's 125 pitches now for Mike Flanagan.
It's a night's work.
Now the roar of the crowd as they get caught up in everything, and there's Mrs. Moreno. She's just kind of saying a little something to herself. And that's that Omar can pick up that tying run. But they get wrapped up, which you've seen in different ballparks this year when you get the count 2 strikes.
Hold him out on a curve.
So Keith, Earl Weaver stuck with his ace.
That's a close pitch.
Boy, you think this is a nasty pitch. Besides being close, and it is right there.
So Flanagan hangs in and gets his man. And we've got a 5-4 ball game in the middle of the 8th inning. Speaking of baseball fever, here's a sample of what it's like in Baltimore in 1979 with Wild Bill Higgy leading the crowd.
He's a cab driver.
Yes, he
here
is.
in Baltimore. And he's got all 53,000 plus people right with him.
Grant Jackson comes on now. He is the 5th Pittsburgh pitcher in this ball game. Jackson with a record of 8-5. He was in 72 ball games this past season. He'll be pitching to Billy Smith, Rick Dempsey, and Mike Flanagan unless Earl Weaver has something going and decides to hit for Flanagan. 5-4 ball game. Baltimore has not done anything with the stick since the 2nd inning. So Grant Jackson, who pitched for Baltimore in 1971, his wife in the crowd, now sitting on the other side.
He's a veteran of World Series play.
Here is Dower hitting for Smith. Rich Dower comes up to hit for Billy Smith. And will go to second base in the top of the 9th inning. Grant Jackson, the veteran left-hander, to the right-hander Dower, and he's low for ball 1. Dower on the year, you saw his numbers at 2.57. And there's a strike. There's the story on the Pittsburgh relief corps tonight, and it's quite remarkable.
Well, it really tells the story of the Pittsburgh team the entire second half of the season. How that bullpen core held together.
And that pitch is low.
You know, it's amazing that how Grant Jackson just keeps on going. He's been blessed with a great arm. He's been in 72 ball games prior to tonight, and he's still going strong.
That's fouled out of play.
First came up, these are the Philadelphia Phillies.
That's right. He's kind of a, I've often said he's kind of a left-handed Brooks Lawrence. Even to a degree looks like him. You remember?
Yes,
the
I sure
bull-necked pitcher with the Reds and Cardinals back in the late 50s.
That ball is punched up in the crowd on the right side, out of play.
Meanwhile, he was a big find for the Yankees.
Yeah.
In the Kenny Holtzman deal.
Sure.
Won 6 and lost none in relief that year.
Made 19 appearances for New York. 76. The 2-2 pitch. Dower looks low. (5-4). Baltimore at bat in the bottom of the 8th inning. And it's shot up the middle by Dower. Base hit. He is becoming a very tough out.
You're right. He is a typical Baltimore ball player. The kind of guy gets no ink.
Look for this pitch here.
Yep, reached for it. Shot it into center. But he's gotten a lot of big hits this year. And he's solid in the field. He's matured into a ball player.
And just one more of the students and pupils out of USC and Rod Dato's crew.
That's right. Kent to Colby. The whip. Look at that delivery.
I'm telling you, if you've met him on the street or in the store, you'd never in the world think he was a professional baseball player.
Nope, you'd figure he was teaching philosophy at Stanford.
Now the thing right now, Chuck Tanner says, we've only got one more whack at them, boys, and we're just down a run. We can't let them go out any further.
Jackson now will pitch to Rick Dempsey. Dempsey hitless. Fouls it back. Comes back to the screen. It's not padded back there, and his microphone hanging down there. That's why it sounds like it hit in the bottom of the barrel. Booming back.
To Colby, when you look at him, and you talked about, I've heard people say that they just don't believe that he has any muscles. Sometimes you look at the games that he's been in. He's been in 94. And sometimes you wonder, boy, he has really been some workhorse for this Pirate staff.
Probably doesn't have any muscles. That's why he hasn't had a sore arm or anything.
He does a job.
The Baltimore bullpen is quiet. Mike Flanagan has come to the on-deck circle, so Earl Weaver is going to go with him in the top of the 9th inning, and Grant Jackson is outside to make the count. 1 ball and 1 strike to Dempsey. There's Michael.
This is the kind of ball game, Weaver, you don't want to lose any kind, but never one when you build up a 5-run edge with your ace pitcher.
Jackson pitching fine to Dempsey, is inside with that one to make it 2-1.
Cocky badger, Mike called him, but right now a little bit troubled.
Well, right now he's just saying, let me get one more. Normally in a situation like this where you'd have the designated hitter, well, you'd probably see Dempsey bunting because the pitcher would not be hitting that.
It's true. Excellent point.
Pops him up. Moreno with his great speed comes gliding in to make the catch. 1 out.
But that's the way it is this year with no DH in effect in this series. Next year they go back to the DH in effect, alternating years.
That's exactly. The odd years, right now, they have no DH. The even years, they go to the designated hitter. And look at Flanagan. He gets a standing ovation.
crowd of more than 53,000 up.
You might see Flanagan bunt.
Right.
This year, in a ballpark estimate, the winning team will probably get about $30,000 per person. The losing team probably about $25,000 per person.
Madlock certainly thinks he's going to bunt.
He's going to
shake hands with him. And he did offer the bunt.
Well, Earl Weaver right here, he's just going to gamble left-hander to left-hander. He's going to gamble Bunbury against Jackson. That's all, if Flanagan can move his man. So I'll take that gamble with 2 outs. Look out.
And that one got a piece, bit Steve Nicosia. Bit him hard.
Dower was all the way around to third. He thought that might have been a wild pitch, but it just got a piece of the bat as Flanagan tried to move back out of the way. There it is. Boy, you think that doesn't hurt on a night like tonight. You know, I was wondering about this field, guys. I just, you know, we're not going to get any help because it's going to freeze tonight or whatever. So this field is not going to dry out overnight.
Not much.
Just have to hope for some sunshine tomorrow.
We may get a monsoon.
There's a strike.
What was it Edward Bennett Williams said last night? They asked him how he felt about the postponement, and Ed said, Bowie Kuhn is a man of courage, a man of steel, who would call off a game in the face of a monsoon.
1-2 pitch to Flanagan. He's gone. Strikes out. Big out.
That is a big out.
So Bunbury will come now with 2 down and Dower at first base.
Now here's where you go to your scouting books. Here's where you think about the move of Grant Jackson at first base. Even though you've got Bunbury at the plate, you know that Bunbury's going to have to hit one over somebody's head or up the alley somewhere, and Pittsburgh has got speed all over that outfield to try and score Dower from first base. You're liable to see Dower as he's just standing looking around at first base, seeing to where his defense is. You're liable to see him take off, especially if Jackson does not have that real good move.
Dower this season, though, had no particular record of running. Pitch is inside.
He's not one of the faster birds.
But still, it is the unexpected move, if there is such a thing, with 2 teams that have studied each other as closely as these have. With 2 out. In the bottom of the 8th inning, a 5-4 ball game. Baltimore leading. Dower's single broke the string of shutout innings by Pittsburgh relief pitching. They had blanked them since the 2nd inning. Jackson's snapping slider is just low.
Dower's taking a pretty safe lead at first base, and you've got a pretty good hole on that right side to hit through, with Garner cheating a little bit over towards the bag at second base and Stargell holding Dower at first. There's that hole.
Hits it to the shortstop Foley. He goes to the second baseman Garner to get the force on the runner coming down. And after 8 innings of play, the score: Baltimore 5 and Pittsburgh 4. And here's the play that completed 8. As Foley played it well, looked it all the way into his glove, waited for Garner, and got the 3rd out. Final chance for the Pirates coming up. Rich Dower stays to play second base for Baltimore in the top of the 9th inning. He had 17 errors at second base during the course of the season. There's your line score in the ball game. For Pittsburgh, Tim Foley, Dave Parker, Bill Robinson. And Mike Flanagan on 126 pitches, trying to go the distance. Pittsburgh this year, if you like to play the numbers game, won 25 ball games in the 9th inning.
Well, you couldn't ask to have the cards stacked any better than what you have it right now. Here you've got the pesky little guy, Foley, trying to lead it off and get on base if he can.
With Parker with 3 hits coming
That's right.
next. And Robinson, who by Flanagan's own admission in the interview that we did with him that you heard, saying that Robinson troubles him and always has.
Now here is Foley. And Flanagan has a strike. On the ground to the shortstop, Belanger. High throw, but Murray flags it down for out number 1. Looked like that ball was going to sail for a second.
Did at the start. This turned out to be a tight, tough ball game where it started out with the appearance of a rout. Excuse me, because of the 5 Baltimore runs in the first inning. Here's a man who can tie it up with one swing, and that's Mrs. Parker.
Tie it up.
Tie it up.
She's not the only Pirate fan open for that. And he's capable of tying it up, I'll guarantee you that.
One swing could do it. But even as you talked about the Bucks winning 25 games in the 9th inning, the Birds have such a terribly remarkable statistic for holding on to a lead when they go into the 9th ahead. But they've been in a holding pattern. And what a game for the Bucks if they could win it at Baltimore against the ace.
Ball is hit on the ground up the middle. Base hit for Dave Parker.
It didn't take him long. So it's 4 hits for Dave Parker and a brilliant play in right center field on DeCinces to save a run.
Look at this swing again. Just that short stride. Just pop and glide, and that's it.
Boy, looks like I put that on the first tee.
Oh, man.
I don't think this man can hit it out. 24 home runs on the season.
Stanhouse and Martinez. Martinez, the left-hander. Stanhouse, a right-hander. They've got Parker picked off. He's safe. Parker goes barreling into second base, and he clobbers Belanger, and the ball is apparently loose, and Belanger is down.
I tell you, he went in hard, and he just actually forced that error. He went in, he talked about an 89-foot slide, and that's exactly what happened. They have him dead to rights right here.
Yes,
now Murray
did.
Can't get it out of the glove, though.
That's the problem. That's what I wanted to call attention to. You're seeing Parker go down, and he was almost down there by the time the ball passed him, and that was the problem. Had Murray made the throw promptly, it would have been no contest.
Here's Murray. Now they got him. Now he double clutches a little bit.
Notice.
He reaches in. And look how long it takes for that ball to get there. But look at this slide by Parker, and he is right on Belanger's glove, and he just kicks it out. And who does that remind you? Look at it pop in the air. Good camera work.
What does that remind you of?
Yes,
Stanky and Rizzuto.
That's right.
Back in 1951, when Eddie Stanky kicked it out of the Scooter's glove.
There it is.
Yeah, but he's out.
That's a good angle. He was
Belanger
out.
can
But
hang on.
the play became needlessly close, as Don pointed out, because of the lateness of the Murray throw.
Belanger stays. He's all right.
You give credit to the second base umpire. That is Russ Getz. He was right on top of that play.
Charge Belanger with an error. Each team now with 3 errors in the ball game. The tying run at second base. 1 out. Robinson, your batter.
That was a great move by Flanagan. He had him dead to rights.
And you know, he really hadn't gone over there all night long with any serious move at all.
Well, he got 8 this year. He's really worked on that. Now the pitch to Robinson. And Bill, gotta be, the adrenaline is just the thumpity thump.
Earl Weaver, a manager who's not afraid of the second guess, staying still with his ace.
Willie Stargell is on deck. Pitch blocked. It's in the dirt. Dempsey comes up with it.
Well, the thing right here, Weaver is not sitting in the good position. If he goes out to make the move to bring the right-hander in, he knows
That's
one
right.
thing. Tanner's sitting over there with John Milner on the bench, too. Or Mike Easler. Eddie Ott, he's got a bunch of left-handers over there just waiting in the wings.
Good pitch. Flanagan now 131 pitches.
That's a long night's work.
I tell you, this little guy here, he's showing you a little fortitude out there tonight.
Well, especially when he had Parker picked off, and he thought that would be it.
Up. Cued to the second baseman, Dower. 2 down. Parker at third.
So it comes down to this. the big man, who homered in his last time at bat to open the 8th inning to make it a 1-run ball game. The man who many think will be the MVP in the National League.
Fans on their feet waiting for out number 3. They'll watch it standing up.
Willie Stargell, on playing in the series, says, quote, getting into the World Series is like savoring a fine meal. It's something you take slowly and enjoy every minute. It's the best of 7 feast. Inside, ball 1.
There is one of the few times that Stargell's had a fastball tonight. He's seen a lot of breaking pitches, hit his home run off a breaking pitch. That could be just to put something in the mind of Stargell.
That came on a pitch where Dempsey wanted it over the top, and Flanagan didn't put it there. Strike. 1-1.
This man can do to a low ball, Don, and you know it, what Reggie Jackson can do to a low ball. Golf it right out of the ballpark.
Oh, he's an excellent low ball hitter. He'll hit it 9 miles. He won't just get it out of the ballpark. He might have hit it clean over everything. There you get the deuce, get the change. Look out.
Low.
I'll tell you that Dempsey's put in a night's work. This is what we meant when he said he was so great back there.
The Baltimore infield way back.
Coming inside.
High pop left side. Belanger going out. Makes the catch. Baltimore wins it 5-4.
What a tough victory, and what an augury for this World Series. Each team playing according to its pattern of the year is really incredible when you look at it. Baltimore holding together with its pitching ace all the way. And the Bucks chopping, getting the great relief pitching, just failing.
Well, you really can't say enough, I don't think, for the gutty performance of Mike Flanagan. He stayed right there. He fought him tooth and nail, and he ends up on top.
The line score, Baltimore 5-6-3, Pittsburgh 4-11-3. Back after this message and a word from our local station.